Hey Go community, this is Kendall from Mr. Clark's 4th grade class. On this week's episode, the guys discuss video game genres, which includes their favorites and the ones they tend to stay away from the most. In news, they chat about the announcement from Valve about Half-Life Alyx, rumors of a Resident Evil 3 remake. Ooh, that sounds interesting. And the nominees for the Video Game Awards. New games discussed include Pokémon Sword and Shield, which Nick checked out, and Mr. Clark played an early access roguelike called Don't Die Minerva. This is the podcast of all podcasts. This is the Gaming Outsider.
Greetings, programs, and welcome to episode 272 of The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community. It's Monday, November 25th. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and I'm joined, as always, by my fellow co-host. First off, a guy who gave his second perfect review score since I've known him, Mr. Zach Parkerson. What's up, man?
This is the way. I like that.
Oh, look at you. Look at you.
It's so hard to contain the excitement.
That was like a twofer right there, man. This is the way. I have spoken.
Good stuff.
It is good stuff.
Yeah, I gave it a perfect 10. It's warranted.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that for sure later. But, man, I am shocked that you said that was I think you said in your review, this is the greatest video game you've ever played, ever.
Yes.
And that is after Spider-Man 4 Spider-Man 4.
Right.
Spider-Man came out last year on PS4.
And the same world of that we existed in with Nier. It is the greatest single video game I've ever played.
That is crazy town to me. That's awesome. So glad you liked it, man. I'm digging it as well. But I took a little bit of a break, but we'll get there. Also joining us, because Chris is not able to join us this week, is a guy who has probably already pre-ordered his Tesla truck, Mr. Nate Lucas. Nate, how's it going?
I'm not so sure about that.
No, you don't like it?
That thing looks ugly.
I think it looks cool. I did not like it the first time I saw it.
So here's the thing. Here's my problem. So for people that like electric cars, I feel like this is maybe something they might be into, but they typically want a car. But for truck guys, they're going to want a truck, not this.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a truck until you open up the back and see how much room there is actually back there, and you throw a grill on the back of it, like in the pictures.
Maybe.
It totally looks like something out of like Total Recall or Demolition Man or something, though, doesn't it?
It almost looks like a vehicle you would see on Armageddon. Remember that movie?
Oh, like when they're on the moon or on the asteroid?
Launch to the asteroid or yeah.
Well, it's the next step Elon Musk has in mind, probably.
It attaches to a SpaceX rocket. It's a little known feature.
It doesn't look like a truck, but it does look like the future.
It does look like the future.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know we were that ready for the future yet, but
I'm pretty sure that truck showed up in the Cyberpunk 2077 trailer, right?
Probably. And I feel like I've seen that in video games before. I think somebody did a meme today in the Facebook group that showed a picture of it like jumping in the world of Twisted Metal, like the original Twisted Metal. It totally looks like a weird version of Spectre from that game. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I really like the memes where it was like, still loading.
Or the ones that are like, they show Tomb Raider, they show Lara Croft then versus now, and how her face is just all like polygonal. And then they show like a really nice silver car, and then they show that one. This is then, this is now. I thought that was pretty funny too. So, boy, memes are just a plenty with everything, isn't it? I feel like as soon as somebody, like there's like the 10-year challenge thing right now that everybody is doing and is trying to come up with the most clever ways to do that.
Yeah, I think the funniest one was Aunt May.
Yeah, that was pretty
2009
good.
being an old lady, in 2019 being a smoking hot aunt.
Yeah. You're not a football fan, but there was one somebody sent yesterday that had a picture of the Minnesota Vikings trophy room then and now, both of them empty because they haven't. Oh. They've never won a Super Bowl. It was kind of a low blow, but it still made me laugh. So
funny's funny.
It was pretty funny. Anyway, congratulations is in order for Donovan Rowe from our community. He actually won the drawing for our giveaway today. I did it this afternoon over on Facebook, And I have not heard back from him yet, but he had requested a copy of Pokemon Shield. I think it was Shield. Either Shield or Sword. I want to say Shield. And I'm just waiting for confirmation from him to get him that copy as soon as possible. So congratulations. Stay tuned for next month. I genuinely don't know what we're going to give away in December because I feel like there's nothing left.
Yeah. Who would be crazy enough to release a game in December?
Yeah, we're going to actually talk about that in the news section as well, too. But I just don't even know. I looked at the list, there's just nothing huge coming out. But we may have to backtrack and just let people pick a game or something like that. So anyway, we are in officially Thanksgiving season. Thanksgiving is this week. You guys doing anything fun and exciting for the holiday?
No.
Wow. You guys make for great radio.
Well, I heard about this thing called Wingsgiving. That sounds pretty cool.
I totally want to do that. I read that right before we started the show. Instead of like Friendsgiving or Thanksgiving, you have Wingsgiving. You get together with all your friends, and everybody brings 20 wings of a different flavor, and then you all just come together and share them with one another.
It sounds like the greatest holiday in the world.
Yeah, I totally want to do that now. I think we need to do that just, obviously not on Thanksgiving because I can't not go to family stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. The Gaming Outsider Wingsgiving.
Let's do it, man. Next time you're in town.
Perfect.
Do it like the night before R2V2 this year.
There you go. Yeah.
That could be like the new tradition. We just do Wingsgiving.
That's a great idea.
It actually is a great idea. Could find oh man, I'm all excited about that now. What about Black Friday? I know that Black Friday is always a big deal for finding some deals online or out in stores and stuff. Is there anything you guys have your eyes on this year?
For Black Friday, no, but I am looking forward to capitalizing on some Cyber Monday deals.
Oh, okay. Have they announced anything like that already, or?
No, I just do not want to be out and about on Black Friday.
Oh, I don't either. I don't either. I will be in my house watching Star Wars movies all day, so.
Fantastic.
That's not going to happen, but I was talking to Nate, or not Nate, but Zach, I think it was yesterday or the day before. We've reviewed so many games this year that going through when all these deals come across Twitter for Black Friday, all the previews of what's going to be on sale, I cannot find anything that I really want or need to play. And I mean, I've got so much backlog. I feel like I'm getting off well this year. I don't have to spend a ton of money. Did you find anything, Zach?
No, I don't know what in the world they have left to spend money on.
Right, which is a good problem to have.
I think I saw somewhere somebody's got Starlink for $10, which is exactly the amount of money I want to spend for it.
Yes. Yeah.
So I might jump on that, I guess, but otherwise, I don't know.
There's one game that I would like to pick up, but I know there's no way it's going to go on sale, and I almost feel guilty saying this, but I kind of want to check out Ring Adventure? Ring Fit?
Yeah, Ring Fit Adventure. You could get all slim.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That sounds pretty sweet.
I think so too. Maybe I'll just go buy it. I'll just chalk it up as as a health expense, and that's how I'll sell my wife on it. It's going to get me exercising, honey.
Our fellow gaming podcast really made this thing sound fun. You do like special attacks by squatting and stuff.
Yeah, it's like an RPG, but instead of just mashing a button to press the attack button or selecting a magic spell, you actually have to do like a sit up or a crunch or a squat or something. And apparently, I was listening to a podcast today. They said that it actually measures like how far down you go and how well you're exercising, how hard you're pushing yourself to calculate how heavy of an attack you're actually going to do on these enemies, which I think is kind of fascinating.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I may have to just go check that out. Surprise! I bought this. Maybe that's what I'll talk about next week.
Well, she could, your wife could use it too.
She won't use it. She goes and runs like every day. So she's not going to do this. She's like, this is a warm-up. She just ran like a half marathon a couple months ago, like 13.1 miles.
What a show-off.
You should see the medals in our office that she gets from all the races she does. I'm worried it's going to fall off the wall from weight.
Oh.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, you should be proud of her.
Oh, I am proud of her. It's just an insane amount of weight hanging like from a hook on the wall that's holding up this like plaque with all these medals hanging from it. It's kind of nutty. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into the week's news. First up, and I think this happened shortly after we posted the episode last week, and we barely missed it, but Valve announced a new Half-Life game called Half-Life Alyx. and it's Alyx, in case you're wondering how to spell Alyx for that. This is a VR exclusive game, and I may have to get you guys to help me with the timeline because I've not played the Half-Life games, but it takes place between the events of Half-Life and Half-Life 2, so it's somewhat of a prequel, but kind of in the middle there. Releases in March 2020 on Valve Index, Oculus Rift, Oculus Quest, if you tether it to a PC, HTC Vive, and Windows Mixed Reality headsets. May not be Half-Life 3 exactly, but is this good enough for the time being?
So, this is 13 years after Half-Life 2 Episode 2, but it's kind of a prequel in the effect that it's between 1 and 2.
Right.
Is the technical term interquel for that?
I like it.
It is. After reading some information, though, I forget who was talking about it. Can't remember the gentleman's name. I think he's one of the developers. But he had announced that the players would want to play Half-Life 2 Episode 2 before jumping into this, because there are some kind of revealing information or points of information in this title.
Yeah, I read in an article as well that said you're going to want to play Half-Life 2 before you play this. Otherwise, it will ruin Half-Life 2 for you. So
is this another thing where I can't talk about the spoilers of a 13-year-old game?
Well, I mean, right now, yes, because I haven't played it, and
you haven't oh wow! I just assumed such a historic and important video game you would have played.
Well, I think I talked about
it on an Orange Box.
Well, that's the thing is I talked about it. I think it was last week.
Yeah, I remember this now.
Where I tried playing it on PC, but I could not figure out how to hook up a controller to my MacBook without, you got to do joy to key and all that garbage. And it was a real pain, and I'm not a big computer guy, so I was playing with mouse and keyboard, and I realized very soon that I'm terrible at first-person shooters on mouse and keyboard, plus the game looked pretty dated, and so everyone says I just need to get Orange Box and play through that. Will I be lost with the story if I started at Half-Life 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, no,
yes.
I have never played the first Half-Life, and I thought I understood Half-Life 2 pretty well.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah.
There's maybe there's a lot of relevant information having played the first one.
Yeah, I mean, that could be it. Or, I mean, the G-Man's weird, but I heard he was, I tried to catch up on Half-Life 1 afterwards. But I feel like I wasn't confused during 2. A little bit at the beginning, I guess. But
maybe I could just go watch a recap video of the original Half-Life.
I wonder if you like that game, Scott.
Why wouldn't I?
I don't know. I wonder. I don't know.
It'd be a fun, what do we call it? Break the seal, would it not?
Then you would have to beat it, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of have no choice. But I mean, this game is as breakthrough and revolutionary as everybody says it is.
I mean, not 15 years later, I can't imagine it would be.
Well, maybe.
I thought the trailer looks pretty cool.
The trailer for Alyx looks incredible. It looks,
yeah.
If that game plays as well as it looks, because, granted, we're watching a trailer that's very highly up-resed. VR does not look like that. I'm sorry. Granted, I haven't played it in an HTC Vive, but I have a hard time believing it's going to look that good in any headset.
Maybe they're trying to force you into purchasing a Valve Index, which, if you have not looked at the price of one of those, you're talking like $750, upwards of $1,000 for a full setup.
Well, and that's not counting the PC that you have to run it, right?
Correct.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, CB has an Oculus Quest. I didn't even know you could tether those to a PC, but we could play it that way. But I feel like between now and March 2020, my mission is to play through Half-Life 2 so that I can enjoy this, because I really want to play it.
And episodes 1 and 2, of course.
Right. Well, they're both on the Orange Box, aren't they?
They are indeed, yes.
Yeah. So,
but Alyx looks great. I'm happy there's life in the Half-Life franchise at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I wonder if this is Valve testing the waters to be like, we're going to throw this at you and then see how much you guys purchase it, and then decide if we're going to do a Half-Life 3. Or is Valve just seriously just not going to ever make a game that has a 3 in it?
I hope that it's them attempting to whet everybody's palate in an attempt to bring out a Half-Life 3. It kind of ended on a cliffhanger, just like they left in Half-Life 2.
Mm-hmm.
So
do you think,
I really hope.
Do you think a Half-Life 3 would have the problem of a Shenmue 3, where it's living up to expectations 2 decades in the making they can never hope to live up to?
I think Half-Life's going to have a rougher job of that, because I think that people's expectations for Shenmue 3 are not nearly as high as people's expectations for Half-Life 3. Because I know you guys love Shenmue, right? But a lot of people that are saying they like Shenmue 3 are liking it because the dialogue is terrible.
Yeah,
right?
It's part of the charm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I can't speak to the Shenmue games, but here's what I hope they do.
They're great.
I hope that at the end of Half-Life Alyx, after you beat it, there's like an after-credit stinger that says however many years in the future, and there's a little trailer that shows like whatever the cliffhanger was for Half-Life Episode 2, Half-Life 2 Episode 2, and then that's a tease for Half-Life 3. And they just show the logo after you beat it. Wouldn't that be cool?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys seem unenthused.
Well, I'm just worried that would then be like Half-Life 3 exclusive to VR or Half-Life 3 exclusive to the Valve Index.
That would be a bummer.
I feel it could be kind of a missed thing for people that aren't playing Alyx because they don't have the hardware for it.
Yeah, see, that's what I would love to play this game.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't have the hardware.
It's not on PSVR.
Right. And
Is this something that would make you go out and get VR?
I don't think so. I don't know if any one game could.
Right.
I mean, I guess more and more the Quest is looking appealing between like games like this and Vader Immortal and stuff, but I don't know. It just seems like such a bridge to cross going into VR like that.
Well, especially since I got a PSVR last year around this time, and I don't think I've touched it in over 6 months.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not.
I can't remember the last time I used my VR. I don't know if I used my VR in 2019 at all.
That's a possibility for me as well. I've like set it up for other people to play, but me actually playing it, I don't think it's happened.
Yeah, I tore through Lost, Astrobot, and played a lot of Beat Saber. Then I was like, all right.
I still have yet to do any VR, anything.
I need to loan you my PSVR, or do you have one?
I don't have anything.
I need to loan you mine. You would love Astrobot Rescue Mission. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, that's enough of Half-Life. Let's go on to the next one. It sounds like Resident Evil 3 is getting a remake. I know we've been talking about this for quite a while, but it I can't say officially is in development because Capcom refuses to comment on it, but multiple sources have said that they know it is happening. And Capcom has actually even hinted at the possibility in the past. Well, we do know they are working on a Resident Evil multiplayer game called Project Resistance, but I assume you guys are on board for Resident Evil 3 Remake?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
one of my favorites, Nemesis, was fantastic.
If it's half as good as Resident Evil 2, it'll be a hell of a game.
Yeah. I mean, there's not really much to say about this other than we want it.
Well, those same sources say that it's a different team, though, meaning that this is probably further in development than we might think.
Oh, so it could be announced at, say, the Game Awards?
I don't know if it's that soon, but it sounds like maybe you won't have to wait, for 3 or 4 years for this. Maybe you might get it in 2 or something.
Interesting.
Which I'm
not saying it would come out at the Game Awards. I'm saying that they announce it, they reveal it at the Game Awards.
Wouldn't that be cool, though? Here's a trailer for Resident Evil 3 Remake. Go download it now.
Oh, man. I think we're past those days. Oh,
those are
one more thing.
Days, remember?
I know.
Those are great days, though. Whenever they're like, download it now.
Like immediately pulling out your phone and going,
yes,
buying it.
It's the only reason Fallout Shelter did as well as it did. Mark my words.
That's true. And that was also awesome. That same presentation, Fallout 4 came out something like 3 or 4 months later.
Right. Yeah.
Which is fantastic. So
same day as Rise of the Tomb Raider, I remember.
Yeah. I do know that CB is anxiously awaiting this news officially being announced and playing this game. He loves Resident Evil 3, I think, almost as much as Nate does. So,
Nate, what is about 3 that makes it stand out?
Nemesis.
Okay.
Okay. One of the coolest villains in a Resident Evil game. Hands down.
Well, which is funny because we kind of got a mini Nemesis in the Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yeah, but he didn't burst through walls like Nemesis did in 3. Like I remember playing that on PlayStation 1 back in the day and having him burst through a wall and it was pitch dark in my room and just scared the daylights out of me as a kid.
Well, yeah, because we were so used to Resident Evil games having those safe rooms. And there weren't any safe rooms in Resident Evil 3 that we were used to. So,
and then Nemesis came with narrative choices as well.
Did it? I don't remember that at all.
Where I'd be like, are you going to stand your ground and fight, or are you going to run into the building? Stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Weren't there other ones where, like, I remember one time you had to fight the Nemesis and you could set off the gas in the kitchen or something and set him on fire to kind of delay his movement or something like that. But yeah.
After this, we get Code Veronica. That'd be cool.
That's one I never played. I skipped
love
that
that
one.
game.
Apparently the story is really good in that one, but is that the one that... No, Zero is the one that starts on a train.
Yes.
I made it about 45 minutes into that game before I gave up.
Code Veronica is the awesome game starring Claire Redfield. In the opening cutscene, she gets held up by a bunch of dudes, so she drops her gun, but then she drops to the ground and catches it mid-drop. And it blows the whole building up. It's freaking cool.
Man. That's worth a YouTube viewing, I think, man, right there.
It's yeah, it really is.
It's over the top.
It is. It might have been the beginning of the Resident Evil action over the top. Yeah.
Probably.
The cheesy
Yes.
over the top action.
Yes, Resident Evil 1, 2, 3 are pretty believable in its action. Code Veronica, I think, was the kickstart to the absurdity.
Do you think 4 was still absurd?
Yeah, 4 had some pretty wild... You fought like a Napoleon Bonaparte cosplayer who sent statues after you that were swinging axes. Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous.
I forgot about that. Wasn't there like a disembodied, like his legs were cut off and he's hanging from the ceiling, swinging towards you at one point?
Yeah, with his boss fight?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I always just use a rocket launcher every time because I hate that boss fight.
Oh, okay. You must have got the rocket launcher way before I did then, because I don't remember using a rocket launcher much in that game. But
when I know that part is coming, I save up for the rocket launcher because I really hate that boss fight.
I tell you though, if they remake 4, I am that's where I'll get really excited. I'm excited for 3. Don't get me wrong, but I tried to replay 4 recently, and I forgot how terrible the controls were in that game because at the time 4 was like, oh, finally they fixed Resident Evil. These controls are great. And,
well, I mean, 4 at the time was, oh my god, they fixed third-person shooting.
Right. It was awesome. But now it's like you have to hold down the button to aim the gun. Remember that?
Yeah, you can't walk or anything.
Yeah, you can't walk and aim at the same time, which was maddening. But I have good memories of Resident Evil 4. That was a pass-the-controller game for me and my buddy Mike back in the day.
Nice.
I loved those. I
have really great memories with my best friend Chris. We played it all in one sitting and then started New Game Plus immediately.
Oh, wow. How long is the game?
It was like 20 hours or something.
You played it 20 hours straight, the two of you?
Yeah, we like rented it on the weekend after school. We just played it all in one sitting. Just passing the controller, eating snacks, and drinking an absurd amount of Mountain Dew.
Those were the days, man.
Yeah, they were, man. They were.
I used to go over there at his house and we'd stock up on just like, frozen pizzas and Doritos and Mountain Dew and
pizza rolls.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's great. Nobody there to judge you. Just you and your buddy playing games, passing the controller.
Mm-hmm.
We need to do that more often. See, I think that as adults, people do this now, but now they just call it like raising money for charity to make it sound less ridiculous. Because, oh yeah, we're raising money for the kids. Really, I just wanted to play games with my buddy and for 24 hours straight. All right, and speaking of the Game Awards, the nominees have been announced. I'm not going to go through all the categories, but I did have the Game of the Year nominees, which was pretty interesting. We've got Control, Death Stranding, Resident Evil 2 Remake, I put Death Stranding in there a second time for some reason, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and The Outer Worlds. Any quick guesses as to which one's going to take home the crown?
With all the hype, one would definitely think Death Stranding would be in the running for, I don't know, top 3.
Yeah, I would see the way games media, who are going to be the judges for this, the way they've been salivating over Control all year. I would say Control's probably going to take it.
You got to think of all the work they did in Super Smash Ultimate. Look at all the characters that they added to Smash this year.
Yeah, I don't see that winning though.
I mean, there's no Waluigi, but
Sekiro could win. I've been slowly working through that game all year, and it's friggin' astounding.
I'm scared to death of games like that. I really am.
And then again, look at Outer Worlds. Look at what they did to make that game available to people for Game Pass. That was what a bold move.
No, I agree with you. I just don't know. Like, of this list, I feel like that's the oddball out. I love the game. I haven't finished it. I really loved the game, but
was Gears 5 on this list at all?
No,
I
and I
don't
honestly
think
don't
so.
think it
Wow.
deserves to be.
Right?
I'd say it from a technical perspective and how it looks.
Sure, but
Or Modern Warfare?
Modern Warfare is pretty great. But the jury for these Game Awards is made up of the top editors of like IGN and Kotaku and Polygon and stuff. Well, not Kotaku, they do not participate, but IGN, Polygon, stuff like that. And those people, I don't think Modern Warfare is really in there standing out as Game of the Year for that audience, that crowd of critics, I guess,
Well, there's also a pool of, you can go vote on the site right now.
Right.
And granted, that's going to be a small percentage.
The audience is a 10% tilt in the overall.
Oh, only 10%.
Yeah, the overall voting, the audience is a 10% tilt.
Interesting.
I read there's a big old breakdown about this the other day. I'll send you the link, Scott.
Well, no, I didn't.
Hey, you know what's not on any of these categories?
Yeah.
Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Which is bizarre to me because they missed the cutoff by like a week.
I would guess that is what happened, yes. And honestly, I think Death Stranding being in that Game of the Year list is a product of when it came out. I don't think people had gotten very far and they had to cast a vote.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of, I feel like Kojima's name alone carried Death Stranding into this nomination before people really got into it.
Well, not to be a conspiracy theorist, but Kojima and Jeff Keighley are also good buddies.
Right. I don't want to wear a tinfoil hat there because I know Keighley does not do any of the voting himself.
Right.
And he overall, he's earned my favor. He kind of seems like a stand-up dude, honestly.
No, I agree with you, but he could also very easily, here are the possible games you can nominate.
Right.
First one on the list is Death Stranding.
Have you heard of Death Stranding?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I can see what you're saying there. But I also think The Outer Worlds is on here because it was a giant RPG that would have been what people were in the middle of playing during deliberations.
Right. If Outer Worlds came out in Q1 or Q2, I don't think we'd be talking about it right now.
I agree. If during the nomination process, people would have been in the middle of the game.
Right.
Like that. That's also why I think Skyrim won so many Game of the Year awards that year.
Well, I mean, this is common with awards season, right?
It is, yeah. I guess
there's Oscar season, all the movies that the artsy movies that are going to be nominated. And honestly, that's kind of what makes me nervous about this. And I'm trying really hard not to crap all over Death Stranding because I haven't finished the game. It's getting a lot of love. It's just straight up a game that did not work for me. And I'd like to say someday I'd give it another shot, but I kind of doubt it just because I'm on to the next. But Death Stranding feels like the artsy movie of the Oscars. The one that is getting nods because it's just straight up different or sends a message or is, weird.
It's definitely weird.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not against weird. I like weird now and then, but
yeah, I mean, absolutely. So what do you think would win, Scott? Game of the Year.
I mean, my gut says Death Stranding just because that's all everybody is talking about right now. I mean, everybody
has such a mixed critical reception.
Yeah. But everybody liked Control.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, everybody likes Control.
But Super Smash Brothers also, man. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the Smash Brothers series. I own it. I bought it mostly for my students to be able to play at school, and they love it. But with how much content is in there, kind of like what Nate was saying, and if you think about it, Smash Brothers came out in December last year, right?
Did it?
So
yeah.
Yes.
So they actually did remember a December game for once.
Right. So that was a 2018 game, and it's being considered for the
That's worth mentioning.
So, Star Wars next year?
Right, but look what Star Wars is going to be going up against.
Yeah, they're not going to be remembering Star Wars. They should, I would say.
I agree. Any other standouts in the nominees? Did you guys look at the categories at all? Because Gears 5 was mentioned in like either action or action adventure.
Yeah, I liked A Plague Tale got nominated for narrative.
Yeah, that's a good call.
I kind of appreciated that. Got a little pull there. I know Apex Legends, I think, got best multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good game.
I wonder if I screwed up and did not give them a nod because I feel like Apex should have been in there as well.
What, Game of the Year?
Yeah.
It should have been. I don't know if it was.
I mean, just how hot it came out the gate, right?
Right. I know Matthew Peretta as Dr. Darling is up for Best Performance. For Control.
Alan Wake.
And he should win. So, because he was a standout character.
For the music video alone.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Like, I want to seriously go watch that music video again just because it was so...
Jesse is dynamite. Yeah.
Didn't even know what was going on in that.
Yeah, it's wonderful. The
bizarre.
the category I think Death Stranding should win is art direction.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to argue with that. Because if you play that game for this small amount that I did and you play anything else, it just kind of pales in comparison to how well that game looks.
Well, I don't even mean graphically. I just mean like the artistic touch, like the way everything is designed, like all your BB equipment and your order deck, and even the enemies and stuff. It's all very... I don't know. It's like it all feels like a very cohesive, interesting art direction.
I agree. I feel like this is one I'm going to watch for sure because I love to watch that for the reveals. World premiere.
See, yeah, I wish they would get rid of those.
Really?
Yeah, but that'll never happen.
No, I don't think it will.
I wish there were less reveals and more categories at the event itself. But I understand the financial realities of that.
Well, and I think that's also why they're doing that in December, because like you think of like the Oscars isn't until like what, February?
Right.
So why couldn't video games do that? And I heard another podcast say, well, if you think about it, this is also a sales pitch for these games. And they want people to buy these games for Christmas. So this is like a last run. Oh, that game won an award. I'm going to go buy that for so-and-so for Christmas. Which makes sense. But I still think it's kind of weird that a game that came out in 2019 cannot be considered for these awards because it came out in November. Like Star Wars came out, November 17th? Or what was the date?
November 15th.
15th?
Yeah.
That's a month and a half.
Right.
Away from the end of the year, and it's too late to be considered for Game of the Year.
Yes, but it's less than a month away from the Game Awards. Right.
Right.
Yeah, which is it's very frustrating.
It is frustrating, but that seems like plenty of time to deliberate. Oh, I guess you got to play all the games, right?
Well, I mean, also like Jeff Keighley is what, he's trying to organize all this stuff from all over the country.
That's true.
That's got to be a lot of work. And then getting everything lined up with like, the invites. Yeah, I imagine Jeff Keighley's a busy dude right now.
Probably.
He's probably not playing that Death Stranding game he's in.
Probably not, no. But December 12th, that is when that will take place. It'll be live from the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles. And unfortunately, it looks like I will not be able to watch it live. I have two things going on that night. I just looked on my calendar.
Well, you better cancel, son.
I have to go to an urban education symposium, and there's a music program at my school that night, so I have to do one or the other.
Those sounds like two good naps, so you may as well stay home and watch the game.
Well, I have to go support people. That's what I do. But
has anybody ever been excited about a symposium?
Well, I was when I had my symposium in December last year. So I kind of
I must have slept through that.
when I got my master's degree.
Oh, did you get your master's?
Yes, I did.
That's right, because this year you're supposed to have so much more time to play all these games.
And I've done a pretty good job, I'd say.
There's one you forgot about. Yeah. Whatever.
I met the final boss. I'll go knock that out over Christmas. How about that?
You knock it at the final boss.
and then I got like
third of the way through the game.
I was gonna say I got like 20 more hours to go to play that game.
Yeah,
you got to relearn how to play that game. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on. We've got Patreon. We've got a new episode available for you to check out. It is the spoiler cast for Control. Nate, Zach, and I. Actually, no. Zach, you weren't there. Who wasn't there?
I was there. I don't know if Nate was.
Nate was not. There. It was CB, you, and I for Control. It was you, me, and Nate for the Tron and Tron Legacy episode.
Nope, you, Nate, and CB.
No, that was CB.
Okay. 3 random Gaming Outsider hosts are on either of these 2 episodes.
When you go to Patreon, you can be sure the Gaming Outsider will be there.
No, the Control conversation in particular was a lot of fun. I was not as confused as these guys led all of the community to believe.
You know what I did like, though, is we were all on the same page with the villain and the ending, though. That was nice.
Yeah.
I did not feel like a crazy person.
And usually you like it when we all disagree, and you were plenty happy that we agreed on that one. So, and it was, of course, fun to sit down and talk Tron, especially since Nate had never seen it before. It was his first time watching those movies. So
did he like it?
They were both great. No. I liked both of them. I didn't have the nostalgia for the first one, like I feel like most fans of Tron would. So it was kind of cool to see the new direction they took. And I like the new aesthetics. The music was really good in the second one. However, kind of drags in the middle, I think. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, that second movie does look sharp.
Mhm,
That
it
is
does.
an aesthetic that works.
So, and this is weird. So after we recorded the episode, now after watching part of the animated series, which is not a series for me.
No such thing as a bad series.
I thought it was just
series
series
that
not
aren't
for
for
me. But the first one almost has like a nostalgic feel now. I feel like I almost have like an attachment to the first one, just how ahead of its time it would have been. And I can see how much time and effort was put into it. It's really cool.
That's really cool, man.
Did you play the PS3 game?
I did not.
It's so good.
I did not.
It's Prince of Persia
I
on a
know.
computer.
I have not had enough time to delve into that one properly, but CB was nice enough to loan me his copy, so
That's awesome.
I will have to give that a try. Maybe I'll do that over December.
Future episode on Patreon, perhaps?
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, by the time you hear this episode, that Tron and Tron Legacy episode should be available very, very quickly. And then, as promised, since we shorted you guys last month on an episode and released our second October episode at the beginning of November, we decided to throw in a third episode for the month of November. And according to popular demand, we are going to do an episode on the first season of Glee. That's got to happen sometime in the next week or so because we're running out of time. But stay tuned for that. Anyway, if any of those episodes sound interesting to you and you'd like to help support the Gaming Outsider, head over to patreon.com/thegocast. $3 a month will give you access to all of our bonus content, not only the episodes that we just mentioned, but all of our back catalog as well. There's quite a bit to listen to, and we would really appreciate the help. And we'll use any extra funds to give back to the community in any way that we can, including R2V2, which will take place next fall. So stay tuned for that. Let's go ahead and jump now into our From the Outside In topic. Zach chose our topic this week. He wanted to talk about game genres, including our favorites, as well as the ones that we usually steer clear of. So to start, let's talk about the genres that you naturally gravitate towards. So what kind of game do you guys see and immediately think, I have to play that game?
So I kind of follow in the same vein that David Newman does. And he gave us a comment on Discord. It says, I gravitate towards open world action adventure RPGs. There's something about not being limited to one path and improving your character along the way that really takes me out of the room that I'm in and into screen with all the characters in the world. I kind of relate to that. I really love just jumping into something different and experiencing an alien world through a character's experiences. And that really kind of speaks to the same kind of titles that I like to play.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely the RPG, action adventure type games.
Well, that was kind of like what like D&D was back in the day, right? You were kind of putting yourself into that world. That was you as the character, and all these things happened, and it just was immensely satisfying. And then translating that to video games with an open world is just it doesn't feel like you're there, but it's the closest we're going to get to something.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of instances where it does feel like you're kind of there, and then when everything kind of settles at the end of the game, you almost have like a sadness, like you wish there was more. Like it almost makes you sad to kind of disconnect from that world. You grow attached to it after how many hours playing it. So
even if it's not like an online persistent world, it's just a static thing that you just feel like I'm not going to be able to go back to this place ever again.
Yeah.
Now, I got a question when it comes to RPGs. Do you play a character as you? Like, do you make the decisions you make that you would make if you were you? Do you make your character look like you? Or do you just kind of be a third party?
I kind of play it by ear. So in like the Fable titles, I definitely play the opposite of how I would be. Just because I think Fable plays better as an evil type character than playing the hero. I get to play the hero every single day.
Oh, well, you're a hero.
I get to play the hero every day.
Oh,
yeah.
Boy.
So in Fable, I got to play like the evil type characters. But typically in games, I like to align myself closer with the traditional moral and the law-abiding character, I guess.
Interesting. What about you, Zach?
Oh, it kind of depends on the morality system. If it's like a KOTOR or a Mass Effect, I tend to try to lean one way because that's how you unlock stuff, basically.
Right.
I think Mass Effect 2 improved on that, where it would just put points in both and still kind of upgrade you. I feel like that one I did a lot of Renegade stuff. My favorite way to do it is Dragon Age. Was an RPG that I loved because it didn't have a morality meter, but it had your party liked you or didn't like you based on your actions. So you never knew if you were taking the quote unquote heroic action. So it always felt like you were existing in this world of gray, and characters could just bail on your party altogether and just leave. So in those kind of games, I really feel inspired to just play to my own moral code, which I like a lot. And those are the kind of games I draw into more. And that tends to help if the protagonist is silent as well, actually.
Interesting. I tend to do both. My achievement point guy in me wants me to play through games like Fallout 3 twice, to play once as a good character, once as an evil character. Plus, even though the first time I always play these games, I always play good, because I play as myself. Not that I'm a lily white person, but moral code, like you said, is a good way to say that. But then it's fun to go back and play as the evil villain when you're going through on your second time. Like the moment in Fallout 3 when you have a decision to make on another city. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I felt terrible about it, but that was a lot of fun to watch. First time that happened. Mm-hmm. I felt kind of guilty about feeling cool about that, but that was a lot of fun.
They'll be all right. They'll be all right.
I find as I get older, it's harder to do the evil path. I think you soften up as you get older.
The way around it to get around playing the evil side is when you play as the good character, you say, "This is me playing as me," and then you think of someone that you think is a really crappy person, and you say, "What would this person do in this situation?" And then make that decision. Then it's not your decision. Your brain is saying it's somebody else. What would that person do in this situation?
Wow, it sounds like a serial killer or something.
Yeah. I totally just blame shift in my own video games.
Virtue signaling.
Yeah, that's weird. All right, Nate, anything else?
Yeah, Thomas Beck's also on Discord. He says, "There is no genre I will stay away from automatically, because there's always exceptions that become classics and need to be played. I'm not good in shooters, yet I have a ton of fun playing Apex Legends, for instance, and I always give point-and-click adventure games a chance in most RPGs." So it's really cool that Thomas is willing to kind of play things that are out of his comfort zone, even if he doesn't really kind of stride to play those games. Mm-hmm. And I think there's some value to that too. Playing games that you wouldn't typically play kind of open you up to maybe appreciating a genre more if you have a title that appeals to you.
Yeah, it keeps you from staying in your own lane and just playing the same things over and over again. I even love it when individual games force me to play out of my comfort zone. I talk about that with a lot of the roguelikes that I play, where the leveling system actually encourages you to play outside of your comfort zone and to experiment more often. And then all of a sudden I have just this discovery of I just learned I like to play this game this way. And what Thomas is saying here is that he actually likes to experience that with an entire game genre, which is great. I love the open-minded nature of his comment.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned there are some genres I stay away from, but if people keep telling me something's a classic, I'll give it a whirl.
Yeah, I feel very much the same way. But Zach, what about you? What genres do you like?
Well, no one said it, but I don't know if it's too specific, but I really like 3D Metroidvanias. Any kind of 3D Metroidvania I will eat up. The Arkham games, well, the first two. The Tomb Raider reboots, your Fallen Orders, your Metroid Primes.
Your Fallen Orders?
Yeah, well, your one Fallen Order. Control, those kind of games, I just eat those up. Love them, love them, love them. And which is weird, because the 2D Metroidvanias don't really do it as much for me.
Really? Even Super Metroid?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Super Metroid's great. There are some great ones, but there's something about There's something about exploring the spaces in 3D that makes it much more appealing to me.
Yeah. Man,
I don't know.
Metroid Prime was a revelation back when that game came out.
Yeah, I really gotta play all those games.
You've not.
What are your thoughts on Castlevania on 64?
Ugh.
I've seen some YouTube videos. They look pretty rough.
Okay. I was gonna say.
I've never played it. No.
That game controlled like poop back then.
I was totally bummed out and then never even finished Lords of Shadow because I assumed it to be more of a Metroidvania.
Oh, no, it wasn't. That was definitely a God of War clone.
Straight up God of War. Which is funny because the most recent God of War is absolutely a 3D Metroidvania.
Yeah, you're not wrong, actually.
Yeah. And then another genre I will eat up, but it's harder because they're so long, are Souls-likes.
Mm-hmm.
Love Souls-like.
You're still playing Sekiro.
Yeah, playing Sekiro year-round. I mean, Bloodborne is one of the great games of the generation. Even 2D, Salt and Sanctuary, love that. Like, I always just want to play those and see people spin on them. Because when you kill a boss in a Souls-like, it matters.
By the way, back to Lords of Shadow for just one quick second. If you haven't finished that game, you need to at least go watch
I've
the
seen
story.
the tag.
Oh, you have?
Yes.
That was so freaking cool the first time I saw that. I went, no way.
My buddy, I had played some Lords of Shadow, then my buddy kept playing it, and I kept kind of learning more of the story as he was playing it.
Uh-huh.
And then he's like, hey, you need to see this cutscene.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it was really like, oh my God. Can't wait for the second one. Surely that'll be the greatest game.
It wasn't.
No, it was not. Yeah, those are probably my two favorite go-to genres.
Nice.
Platformers, they're 3D platformers, but those don't exist really.
I still got ukulele and...
I'm sorry, yeah. I don't really know how to... I'm thinking like Sands of Time.
Oh, okay.
That game is absolutely about traversal. But I don't know what you would call that other than a 3D traversal game.
I mean...
That's like
would you consider like the Uncharted games to fall into that?
Yeah, I would say Uncharted and Prince of Persia are like of the same ilk.
Mm-hmm. Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I guess the early Crystal Dynamics Tomb Raiders.
Yeah.
Huh. I don't know what that genre is called though. But CJ Moore said, I think the only games I always play no matter what are Halo, Fable, and Soul Calibur titles, but I don't think that's for any reason than those are the games I started out with, so I feel a deep satisfaction in continuing something that started so long ago. They've all put out rough games at one point, but they're so ingrained into my game experience that they've always been enjoyable to me.
That's an interesting perspective.
Well, I think it helps inform, those early games you play are going to help teach you the games you love to play. Well,
there's a reason that we still play Mario games, right?
Or Zelda.
Yeah. I mean, outside of the quality, whether or not you do, how much you agree with the quality of those games, that's what we grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, good point. I like that.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, and then you pick your favorite franchises; they tend to stick in that genre as well, because what they're good at.
Yep.
But Ling Jizu says RPG and adventures are my cup of tea. Since no internet, I don't do sports unless I go play them, and shooters and FPSs. I do like a good RPG, but I'm very selective. I don't like open world RPGs.
Like Witcher and all that?
Yeah, Skyrim, Witcher, Fallout, all those. Fallout 3 is okay. But they're always too big. And I just kind of don't care by the end of it. Or like I don't feel like I'm learning the lore of the land because there's just so much of it. Or
do you think that's a product of us trying to get through games quicker nowadays?
I don't, because I played Skyrim when I had all the time in the world.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, I feel like it's almost oxymoronic, but because the world is so big, it feels less alive to me. But when I play something like Dragon Age Origins or, the Mass Effect games or something like that, Persona, like those games feel alive to me because you get to, the area and the citizens and stuff like that. I feel like everything in Skyrim and those kind of size RPGs are just so throwaway and forgettable.
It's like a lot of empty space that isn't memorable.
Right. And a bunch of faces with names that don't mean anything. Whereas when you meet somebody in Dragon Age, like that's probably a character that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And to your point, I never finished Skyrim, not because I wasn't enjoying it, but I hit like 100 hours and I had no idea what the story was, like because I was just doing side quest stuff. But I enjoyed it. I actually would like to go back and play that some more at some point, because
my Skyrim story is I played 30 hours of it and was like, hey, this is pretty good, but I'd rather just replay Dragon Age, and then did that.
fair enough. And you're not a sports game guy, huh?
No, I'm not. When I had a roommate play, I would buy the Maddens as they came out because that's just a super fun game to play on the couch.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're attached to the sport.
Yeah. I wish that they would bring Blitz back, because that was the superior way to play NFL football, in my opinion. But
yes, absolutely. I would play those.
Oh man,
my grandparents would go to the VFW to drink away. I would go to the arcade cabinet and play some NFL Blitz.
Oh man, whenever we go to like a arcade or a barcade, I always got to do 4 quarters with somebody, and that's just a blast.
Yeah, it is.
I really wish that game were backwards compatible on the Xbox One, because I would much rather play that than Madden. By far. I mean, I suck at Madden, so that doesn't help.
Only the NFL could loosen up and let that stuff happen again.
Man, it'd be great. Well, I think my feelings on a favorite genre kind of align with Thomas's view that there's not one that I gravitate towards more. I just want to play something new. I'm always looking for that experience that I've never had before. But I mean, I gravitate towards the adventure /shooter /RPG. I mean, I don't really have a one single favorite. Roguelike has been my go-to. There's something that scratches that itch, that something with a progression system in it, where I feel like me playing the game is actually working towards something. I don't know if that's a genre. It is, because it's not just roguelikes. It was the same way with like Assassin's Creed games. I loved checking things off lists. So if
you're a completionist,
I am a completionist, but when it's a doable thing for me, I'm not going to. I say I'm not going to, and I did with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I think I did almost everything in that game, so I can't say I don't do that anymore.
That's a lot of game too.
It is. I did a ton in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It was. No, you know what? I didn't kill the elephant. I think there's one where you have to do the elephant mission.
Oh, so you're okay. Now you're a poser. Got it.
Yeah.
Pretender.
I'm correcting myself. But yeah, Patrick Klein echoed some similar thoughts to me as well. Over on Facebook, he said, I need a game that can evoke emotions for me, and that tends to be RPGs and cinematic adventure games. However, I do like platformers and Metroidvanias, that is a genre, for satisfying my urge to collect things. So, as you can see, Patrick is a man after my own heart. He plays a lot more RPGs than I do, and he knows RPGs way better than I ever will. I listen to him talk on his podcast, and he just has a depth of knowledge of that. Kind of like Chad. Like, those guys just know those systems way better than I ever will, and they have a lot more patience and probably a lot more time.
Patrick is a font of RPG knowledge.
Yes, he is.
And you know what? If I could piggyback off his comment real quick, if it looks like a great story or setting, I really don't care what genre it is.
Yeah, same here.
Like I haven't played a Call of Duty game in years, but that Modern Warfare looks so good that I was like, the story looks so captivating that I had to play it.
And you're glad you did, aren't you?
Heck yeah, I am. What a game.
Sean Coates also said, I'm always down for a good first-person shooter, or rather any game played from a first-person's perspective. Doesn't necessarily have to be a shooter like Portal or Mirror's Edge. I'm also drawn to games with an open world, and if it's an open world first-person shooter, I'm there with bells on. However, I'm not a fan of RPGs. I remember the first RPG I played was Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo. Back when I first played, I was thrown off by its turn-based battle system. I'm just not a fan, so I'm sad to say that does mean the Final Fantasy games don't do it for me, or dare I say Chrono Trigger, as blasphemous as that sounds to most of you, I'm sure.
He's paid a target on his back, this guy.
Right? But I don't mind some minor RPG mechanics in games like skill trees and a leveling up system. So he kind of went into what he likes and what he doesn't like as well. But, I understand that. I like RPGs because turn-based RPGs because I have what do you call it? When you don't have I have low self-esteem when it comes to my skills as a gamer. I don't consider myself a really great gamer. Like, I can't go toe-to-toe with people on Apex or Call of Duty or multiplayer games. That's why I tend to gravitate mostly towards single-player games, because I'm not playing against somebody and feeling condescended towards, because I'm not great.
Hey, I'm right there with you. With you. Yeah.
So a turn-based RPG is a game that instead of me relying on my reflexes, I'm relying on my ability to think and process a way to work through a problem that don't require fast reflexes and fast button skills. So, but I also understand why that wouldn't work for some people. Some people would just have an action game, and if you had bought Mario RPG with the excitement of playing a new Mario game and you got that, I could understand why you'd be upset by that and maybe turned off by JRPGs in the future, because that's not what you wanted, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
I mean, that's why we have reviews nowadays.
Shout out to Mirror's Edge, a 3D traversal game.
Hey, there you go. 3D
go.
traversal.
That's a new genre I'm creating.
Man, you love Mirror's Edge.
Oh yeah.
I never played through it because I couldn't get over the lack of combat for some reason. I should go back and play that again now.
I mean, I love that game so much. I don't know if you remember, like I would just party chat with you guys while you're playing other games, and I was just playing Mirror's Edge.
You're just doing like the time trials.
Yeah, I would try. Like my goal was to get in the top 100 on every time trial map.
Oh wow, how close did you come?
I got most. It felt real good. But the problem is you check back next week and you're not in the top 100 anymore.
Right.
Yes.
That's how I was with the trials games. You know, the motorcycles.
Yes. Yeah. Great games.
Well, because that game was brilliant in that they would actually show the next person on your friends list that is next in line above you, not necessarily the entire list, but just the people that were in your friends list that were also playing the game. So it was like you constantly had that score just dangling in front of you to try to beat. That was pretty good.
That's smart. That's such a smart gameplay system.
It really was. Did you kind of wish they had that in Mirror's Edge?
The putting your friends time trial?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wish more games did that in general.
Yeah.
I played a lot more Just Cause than I probably would have just because of that system.
See? Yes, exactly.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Well, Sean kind of led us into our next part of this discussion, which is the flip side. You know, what genres make you turn and run away because that type of game just isn't for you?
Well, Com Cody says he's into shooter types and battle royales, but he does stay away from sports games. Not only do I stay away from sports games, but typically I stay away from FPSs and battle royales. Unless they're made by Respawn, apparently, in which case I eat them up like crazy. And I play them over and over, or I buy Titanfall 2 on Xbox and PS4 just so I can play with anybody at any time. So
I actually just gave away that copy of Titanfall 2 I had laying around to my brother.
That is an unbelievable game. Apex Legends is great too.
It is. I just suck at it.
But typically shooters are not my... I just don't think I'm good at them, to your point earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Like third-person shooters I feel good at, probably just because of the ingrained Gears of War that runs in my blood at this point.
Right.
But FPSs, man, I just feel like everybody's better than me.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Call of Duty is just straight up not fun online.
Well, especially the new one. I hear that like the spawn camping is real on the new one. I haven't played it to speak, but I hear about it.
I was told that it's way too easy for people to kind of grab whatever they want and kind of pop up shop kind of wherever they're sitting, and it kind of makes it unfun.
It's incredibly frustrating to hear. Whereas Titanfall had all that traversal in it that made it a whole lot of fun and felt like I actually had a chance and do pretty well in.
Well, plus the Titanfall was beautiful, and this might be just a psychological thing, but the fact that there were NPCs to kill on the way to trying to find the other enemies made you feel at least a little bit successful, even if you weren't necessarily killing the actual human players. It felt like you were getting something.
Well, it also did that smart thing where even if your team loses, you can get to that evac ship.
Yep.
And it still felt like a small victory if you could make it to the ship.
Right.
You know, or you almost always are going to have at least one Titan fall during a match.
Mm-hmm.
So you always felt like that was a little bit of a reward you could work towards as well. Like, it was smart about making you feel like you were winning even when you were losing.
Yeah. That's a really good way to put it. Yeah. Man, I want to play Titanfall now.
Let's do it. Love it. But then Drew Ross also said, my multiplayer shooters are my go-to genre. It's fun staying up with friends and knocking out some matches. Single-player RPGs is always my favorite genre. Problem is, last few years, gaming time has went down, so now it's hard for me to invest time into these massive games. For some reason, I keep buying them and never finish them to completion. I finished one RPG this console generation, Fallout 4, and that was only the main story. So maybe it's the genre I should start staying away from. I picked this because games like Fallout, Skyrim, Witcher, as I said earlier, are something I stay away from just because I know that's a lesson I had to learn the hard way by continuously buying them and then playing them for 20 hours and going like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Or the lesson 2019 has taught me is I need to stop buying roguelikes.
You need to try one more.
Scott loves them, and I love Scott. And he's recommending them. And the thing is, like, they always look great.
Mm-hmm.
But just something about it just does not click for me. And I think it might be a narrative issue. But you say, that's why I kind of want to try out Children of Morta, because it tries to give the roguelike a storyline.
Mm-hmm.
But like Binding of Isaac, the story of flinging poop at your mom was not very exciting to me.
Well, I don't think it was what it was going for, but yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah. There's a lot of poop in that game, okay?
Every screen has poop on it. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Straight up. But yeah, you need to try Children of Morta before you're. If you don't like Children of Morta, then I don't think there's a. And I'm not saying this is a knock to you. I just don't think there's a chance for you to like roguelikes.
Right. Yeah, I thought Dead Cells was going to be it because that was like a Game of the Year contender last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not like that game.
Wow, man, I put so many hours in that game. Not as many as CB.
Cracks me up. This cracks me up that you could love something so hard, and then I play it, and I'm like, I don't want to play another minute of this.
Did you play Rogue Legacy?
I did, yeah.
Didn't like that one either?
Yeah, it was like fun for like 2-3 hours.
Oh, man.
And I backed one on Kickstarter, even Sundered. Friggin' just kicking myself the whole time.
I've not played that one.
No, I thought it was going to be a Metroidvania. I was wrong.
I reviewed a game, not this year, but last year, that was a Metroidvania roguelike, which got me really excited, and I did not like it.
Oh, darn. Do you remember the name? Blast them?
No, I don't actually. Yeah. I can picture what it looks like in my head, and it was a really clever concept, and I just did not dig it.
Fair enough.
But what about you, Nate?
So to kind of echo your thoughts and Zach's, I'm not huge into first-person shooters. I've just never been really quick enough on console to compete with people that tend to have more time than I do. Mm-hmm. And at the point where I'm getting frustrated with the game and having to pay money for that title where I'm just getting frustrated, it's almost not worth my time. I'd rather invest time into something where I'm either getting a story or I feel more in tune with. So first-person shooter as well, I won't immediately dismiss them. Not really my cup of tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another genre is grid-based tactical type games.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
What?
So
you don't like them either?
No.
Continue, Nate. Continue.
They almost seem boring. They're hard to get into. There's almost either too much narrative or not enough narrative, or the topic does not correctly reflect the gameplay. Like, it's just really hard for me to get into them.
Like, give me an example. What one are you thinking of?
So I played Ogre Battle back on PlayStation.
Okay.
That was fantastic. And that was probably my favorite and only grid-based tactical game that I really liked. But any of the Fire Emblem type games just don't speak to me. I don't know what it is. Apparently they have fantastic stories. It's just not enough to draw me in.
I feel the same way. Everybody tried to get me to love Advance Wars back in the day. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to love that game so much, and I just...
It's beautiful. Yeah. Like, the artwork was fantastic, too.
Yeah. It probably just should be chalked up to that I'm just not good at it. I felt the same way about XCOM. Everyone...
I was going to say, XCOM looked great, too.
Yeah.
Love XCOM.
I want to love XCOM, man. I wanted to love that game so much. And then the fact that they actually, like, kill off... I guess it's on a difficulty, but if like, a character dies, they're gone forever kind of thing. Iron Man mode or whatever. That's just stressful to me. I don't like to play games that stress me out. I say that and I love Super Meat Boy for some reason.
It's like after an hour or two, like I'm just done.
Mm-hmm.
You ever play Invisible Ink?
No.
It was like XCOM, but it was a stealth spy game.
Okay.
So it was just a little bit interesting because it was more about avoiding stuff. So I felt like you're using brain a little bit more.
Yeah, I could probably get into that a little bit more, I think.
But the grid-based tactical games are things that I loved when I was a kid, when I was younger. But I feel like, yeah, I don't know. There's something about the story is paced at such a rate where I'm kind of not usually into them.
You know what I should do is I should try the Mario Rabbids one, because I feel like that one's going to be like a little bit less hardcore, that I might be able to understand the appeal for that one, maybe.
I picked it up and I'm too scared to play it just because I know that this is going to be one of those games, or it might get me into other games, and I don't know if I have time for that. Two, I know that I don't want to be disappointed because this game did great.
I didn't know you had that. Hey,
I do.
How you doing?
Hey.
There you go. Swat, give him your VR. He can give you Mario Rabbids.
There we go. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think that,
one other one I want to mention about tactical grid-based. One of the only Final Fantasy games I've never been able to get into was Final Fantasy Tactics.
See, I've never played the original. I love the sequel, A2, or whatever, on Game Boy Advance ones. That was great. Never played the OG. I think it might be a little bit of a time thing, like Nate. Like, it is a huge investment, and it is you are either reading or playing slow-paced battles, so it does feel like there's something about the pace of play. You could feel like you could play 12 games by the time you get through a tactics game.
Right.
It takes so long to do anything.
Yes, yeah, I think that might play into it.
Especially if you fail, because then you got to do it all over again.
Yeah, or XCOM, you lose your 3 best squads. You're like, is it worth doing this mission or not?
Right.
See, XCOM, I listened to podcasts the whole time I played, so that probably helped quite a bit.
You do that quite a bit with several games.
It's fun. Hey, video games are great for listening to podcasts, especially Death Stranding.
See, I'm always listening to podcasts as something to do when I'm trying to distract myself from something else that I don't want to be doing. You know what I mean? Like if I'm driving, or if
For me, I love video games and I love podcasts. Why would I not combine those two joys?
No, I'm with you. I mean, it's mostly what podcasts I listen to, but I don't like actively listen to it like I actively go watch Mandalorian or something like that. I don't go like, I gotta go listen to this episode. I need to listen to something because I don't want to scrub the toilet while I'm and not have anything to keep my mind occupied from the fact that I'm scrubbing the toilet. You know,
just doing monotonous tasks.
Right. Or mowing the lawn, or
if I could tell you a quick anecdote about podcasts.
Yeah.
I love listening to podcasts during Souls-like games because you're fighting the same boss, 20 times or whatever. Because A, it keeps me from breaking my controller.
Right.
And B, it gives you something to focus on, and it's almost like your brain and your muscles are working together, and you're less of an active participant, and it just feels like you get into a zone because you can distract yourself with like a conversation.
Yeah. I believe that. I think there's something to be said about that, with the fact that, have you ever like gotten to a boss that you just try it and can't do it, and you put it away, and then you fire it up, and on the first try you beat the boss?
Yeah.
Because,
Valferis.
Yeah. Because your brain is just like, so it's thinking too much. So if your mind is thinking about something else, then you just kind of let go and just let it happen naturally.
Mm-hmm.
I do love that feeling.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I do too.
To kind of wrap up sports games. So I've never been into sports games very much. However, I did really enjoy Tecmo Super Bowl.
All right.
That was fantastic. Mutant League Football and NBA Jam. I mean, if I'm going to play sports games, it was kind of the quirky...
Wii bowling?
Yeah, absolutely. And to echo that, the Wii Sports is the best title on the Wii. Hands down. Hands down. All of the sports were done very well on there, and I had a lot of fun playing through everything on there. And that's coming from someone that doesn't play sports games. But the way that they did that appealed to me. I really liked it.
I agree. Man, my wife liked Wii bowling so much she wanted to start a Wii bowling league at our house.
Wow.
Like have people come over to actually like keep score and keep track of scores for teams and stuff like that. Like she was really hardcore about it.
That's really adorable.
I don't know why I didn't take her up on it.
I don't know why she wouldn't want to go actually bowl.
Because then you have to go somewhere and then you're committed to doing it. I guess someone would have to come to the house to do it. But I mean, technically you could just play from home and just record your score or something if you're trusted people in their honesty.
Yeah. That's quite the honor system there, Scott.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like we're playing for money, so it's it's like an excuse to get together and have some fun with people in person, because she loved it. It was great. For me, a genre that I steer away from is an interesting choice, because I feel like I've started to come around to it a little bit, just slightly, after playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, because I am so scared to death of Souls-like games. I tried Dark Souls. I tried Bloodborne. And I don't have the patience to do those games. I've watched, when we were at the EXP event, Patrick, I was sitting next to Patrick, and he was playing, I can't remember, I don't think it was Sekiro, I think it was Neo 2. I think. Okay, yeah. I could be wrong. And I was watching him, and it just, when you can watch a game and someone is playing it really well, and you're just like, man, he's making it look easy. He was doing well at this game, and it was still stressing me out. It just boggles my mind. You've got these bosses with like 2 health bars, or one of them's the stamina. You have to get the stamina down and then get the health down, and it stresses me out. But Fallen Order, it got me thinking about it a little bit. I seriously, after hearing you talk so highly of this game and comparing it to Dark Souls, really makes me want to go back and give Dark Souls another shot, because I just feel like I'm missing out on something.
I feel like Fallen Order is such a good warm-up game for that genre too. I think I jokingly referred to it as accessible Souls last week.
Yeah,
on a show, but it really is, like, it's a great primer on those systems. Sekiro was pretty good about it too, but this is an even easier entry into the genre.
Really, I've heard horror stories about Sekiro. Like, I sat and watched somebody play a boss against somebody. This boss was like riding a horse with a giant spear.
You know what? What's funny? That boss in particular, I kept hearing about that boss over and over again all year long, and I beat him on my first try.
Oh, really?
But there is another boss where people talk about how he's a total pushover. It took me like 14 tries.
Oh, wow.
It just cracks me up. That's what's so good about that genre. Stuff like that. But Sekiro has tutorials, something that Dark Souls and Bloodborne did not.
And that's intentional. That's like, you're just going to...
They tell you to actually, lock on in Sekiro. They don't in Dark Souls.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Dark Souls, you better figure it out, buddy.
In Dark Souls, you have to lock on, right? There's no way.
I mean, you don't have to. No. I would recommend locking on.
Is Dark Souls more like Sword and Shield, like you're actually blocking instead of rolling like you are in Bloodborne?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Defense is a worthwhile strategy in Dark Souls. Bloodborne, it is no. You have to move.
Gotcha.
Kevin Honig, just can't imagine you not liking Dark Souls. Anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
Like I said, I feel like there's something wrong with my brain that just I again, it's my self-esteem. I hear a game is hard when we're in 2019 and we say, "Oh, this game is hard, but it's not Dark Souls hard." That just makes me not want to play Dark Souls, because it just makes it scary to me.
What it is those when you beat your first boss in Dark Souls, everything gets easier.
Okay.
If you can beat your first boss, all of the systems make a lot more sense.
See, I beat 2 bosses in Bloodborne, and I did not feel that way.
That is mind-blowing to me.
Because, I don't know, it's just something about the timing I just cannot make my brain work at all. And you'd think it would, because timing is, I love rhythm games, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a glorified rhythm game.
Maybe we'll just have to, put a gun to your head or something.
Right. Well, Kevin Honigford agrees with me about the Souls games, but he says he does love a good RPG, more specifically a turn-based RPG. Action RPGs can be fun too until they get into what I don't care for and will turn me off quickly. Souls-like games. Outside of that, I will try anything twice. So yeah, Kevin is with me on that one. Maybe I'll let you convert me, and then I'll convert Kevin, see if that's possible.
There you go.
But the other genre that I tend to avoid, Quentin Thiedens brought up. He said, I avoid MMOs. Also point-and-click adventures and horror, but I do find some that I love. And I picked this comment primarily for the MMOs, and I don't avoid MMOs because I'm not a fan of the game, that kind of game. I avoid MMOs because I'm afraid I'm going to love them more than I think I already would. And I don't have the time or the resources to get into MMOs. They scare me for different reasons than Souls-like games scare me.
Yeah,
Does that make...
you know what? Yeah, I agree completely. The idea of MMOs is great, but I feel like I would just never stop. Like when Star Wars Galaxies was out, me and my friends were playing the hell out of that game.
Yeah, I believe it.
As someone that has played an MMOs in the past, World of Warcraft, I can understand where you're coming from as far as like a kind of a time dump as far as that goes. There's a lot to kind of take in because there's so much information and things to do available, and it's changing on a steady pace.
Mm-hmm.
And you're getting DLC added here and there, so I can understand kind of staying away from that if you're worried about your time.
Yeah, I think part of it is say I just do the main campaign, I love it. Like I feel like my whole life now is like I gotta come back. I gotta come back for next week's story. So like that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
that
becomes part of
too.
your lifestyle.
Like you got to do your dailies? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, a little bit like that. You want to stay up with the latest stuff, and like, my gear's useless now. Okay, it's kind of the same reason I haven't dived into Destiny 2 because I feel like playing the campaign is not going to give me the whole story.
All right, that's fair.
It's almost like if you don't stick with it, you lose it.
Yeah, and it feels, I don't know. I guess it's not intrinsically different than being attached to a TV show, but there's something about it where it feels like I'm almost obligated to keep playing it if I get into it.
Mm-hmm. And especially if you have buddies that play as well, because then you kind of get the
camaraderie,
peer pressure going on. Yeah,
very much peer pressure. Yes, that's why you shouldn't have friends. I say.
Wow. Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that, Zach, because guess what game I'm still playing on my phone?
Oh, are you got back into it?
Yeah, I did. I found a guild that actually like requires people to be active. Like if you go 5 days without any activity, they just boot you. So you're guaranteed.
Oh man, what's the name of that game again?
Legend of Soulguard.
Yeah, Soulguard. Yes.
I mean, it's been a year and a half now. I've been playing that game.
Right.
It's
you
a stupid little
for like 2
game.
weeks.
I did because I was getting disheartened, and they keep adding stuff to this game. And honestly, it's too complex now. Like there's just so many layers to it with not enough. It's definitely a grind. And the easy answer is, oh well, you can just put money into it, which I think I threw like $5 or $10 at it once, but it was over so quickly. It was like a quick hit, and then you're like right back to the grind again. And so I've just decided to stick to the grind to see how far I can go. And I'm still going. I hit level 30 yesterday, actually. I hit level 30.
You level up slow in that game, too.
Yeah. So level 30 feels good. And I'm actually on the lower side of the people in the guild that I'm in now. So, but we're taking out these 25,000 hit point bosses daily, which is good. But the rewards are not great.
Maybe we need to keep Scott away from MMOs.
Yeah, pretty much.
We'll never get out.
That's now you know why I'm staying away from that, because I just know that's what I'll do, and I don't want my video game time to be devoted to something that I have to play.
Ooh,
as opposed to.
That's a really good way of putting that, Scott. Because you only get so much video game time as an adult.
Right?
Do I want it to just be one game every time?
Yeah. I actually took a little bit of a break this week, which we'll get to when we talk about the games we've been playing. I played a game for myself, one that we're not reviewing.
Wow, that's unprecedented, Scott Clark.
When's the last time I did that, for real?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's unprecedented. I wasn't being sarcastic.
Yeah. I put down Star Wars to play something else.
I'm usually advocating, I'm like, you'll text me and be like, man, I just want to play something for myself. I'm like, just do it, man. And you're like, no, I got to play something for the show.
Yeah, I did. I actually played through an entire game. But we'll get there.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, thanks, man. Well, that was a good topic, man. That was a lot of fun. And Zach, thanks for the idea. Because, and I apologize to everybody for me getting out the topic on Facebook and Twitter and Discord this morning, but we had quite a good turnout of responses. So thank you everybody for doing that, and I will do my best to get that posted next week's on Friday this week instead of Monday morning. But all right. Well, speaking of Facebook, we do have some new members to say hello to over on facebook.com/groups/the GoCast, which, by the way, is an awesome community of friendly gamers if you want to join over there. So hello to Amanda Boyd, Cody Chimpers, and Dan Knapman. And also, we've got quite a few new people over on our Discord server, which if you'd like to join that, the link is in the show notes. We've got to say hello to Unamused, Young Goku-san, Daishide, S Sneaky Snake 6, Chantel, and Legendary KM. Welcome. Hope you guys are enjoying the conversations. Also, we got a brand new iTunes review that comes from someone by the name of Stabonius, and they titled their review, Excellent Gaming Podcast, Unique Perspectives. And Stabonius says, I've just hit my 1-year anniversary listening to this podcast. Hallelujah. That's awesome. Thank you for listening for so long. And if you're interested in gaming, I couldn't recommend this podcast any more. I misread that because he actually typed the word anymore as one word. I thought he was saying I can't recommend it anymore.
That would be harsh.
Yeah. While I find my taste most in line with Zach, the others, Scott, CB, Chris, like all types of games and enjoy listening to their point of view and still get me interested in games I never would have tried previously. All the guys seem to have a great bond, which makes for interesting conversation on gaming. I love gaming, but being a 40-plus dad, I took a step back from gaming for many years, and this podcast has reinvigorated me in getting back into gaming with my son. Keep up the good work. P.S. Scott, Zach is right. And let's just stop the review right there.
Well, that's not okay. You have to read the whole review. Zach is right. Lost is the greatest and answered almost every question. Give it another try. First of all, Sabonis, all around, this guy is just a genius. Let me tell you.
I feel like this is Wayne Henderson, by the way. It's got to be Wayne Henderson, right?
Well, I'm glad he agrees with my taste. I appreciate that. And also he's right. I mean, Lost does answer everything that you could have a question for.
Oh man, are we going to start another podcast?
So frustrating.
Lost Explained, the podcast.
Lost Rewind.
Well, but in all sincerity, thank you, Stabonius, for the awesome review. We really do appreciate it. And if you would like to help us get some more exposure out there, believe it or not, those iTunes reviews do help us get seen by more people. So if you get a free second, head over to iTunes, and there's a link for that in the show notes as well. And give us a review, let us know what you think of the show, and help us expand our listener base. We really would appreciate it. Also, on the website, thegamingoutsider.com, that's where we keep all of our written reviews and editorials. I've got my review of After Party up on there, and we've got a review from Thomas for a game called Ghoul Britannia, Land of Hope and Gory, and then Zach's 10 out of 10 review of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is available for your reading pleasure. With that, let's go ahead and jump into the games we've actually been playing. All right, Zach, we got another light week again, please. Yes?
Yeah, I mean, it's I had a scrounge for some new releases this week. First, we have Pine coming to the Switch November 26th. Seems a very Zelda-esque adventure to me.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to play it now.
More Breath of the Wild than anything else. Kind of felt like. We have a couple of ports. Gree coming over to PS4 November 26th. I think our own Christina was quite a fan of that one when it came out on Switch.
Mm-hmm.
I think late last year. Where the Water Tastes Like Wine is off of PC and onto consoles on PS4, Xbox One, and Switch November 29th. Then Weekless comes to the Xbox One and PC November 29th.
Where the Water Tastes Like Wine, isn't that they had a new game that came out called Bertha, I think that developer, that Sissy Jones voice acted in. I believe that's the same developer.
Friend of the show.
Mm-hmm. I'm not familiar with Weekless. What's that one again?
It was, I hadn't heard of it before. It looks almost like a co-op adventure. Like it's you and another character kind of roaming around. It's almost like a 3D platformer puzzle kind of thing.
That sounds like something you would want to play.
Yeah, it did not look terrible, but I got about 100 games I got to finish for the end of the year, so
you're right.
I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Is that on Game Pass by chance?
Ooh, you know what? I didn't look. That's a good point, though. Maybe
We'll have to find out. If that's on Game Pass, we may have to give that one a whirl just to see what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I gotta get through Death Stranding, Sekiro, and Shenmue before the year's out, so I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna happen.
I don't know what I have to finish. I have to finish what? Nier Automata?
Well, I don't think that's going to be relevant to our 2019 Game of the Year discussions.
Well, I know, but you get really mad whenever I say I didn't finish it. So
I know everyone else is mad, Scott. It's not just me.
I do want to finish Star Wars. I may bump that down to easy mode just to experience the story.
I wouldn't judge you for it.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't feel like there's anything on here that I have to play. I'd just rather catch up this week.
Weekless might be the standout if I had to pick one, but yeah, it's definitely it's a catch up week for me. Anything for you, Nate?
I'm still playing through Pokemon, about 3/4 of the way.
Man, funny you should say that. How's Pokemon doing?
It's got some positive aspects to it.
Well, right off the top,
there are things that could be improved.
Can I ask you? So let's talk about Pokemon Sword and Shield right now. What? How mad were you about the Pokédex situation?
So, having played nearly every Pokemon game known to man, I was kind of irritated that I didn't have my Bulbasaur Charmander anymore.
Dexit, they're calling it online, I'm seeing.
Yeah, so they also want to promote this new transfer system that's coming out, I think, spring next year.
Okay, wait, so they do have a plan for those Pokemon that you have?
Well, and I don't know, they don't have enough information about it yet.
Okay.
So you had the Pokemon Bank, which you had to pay to get your Pokemon transferred.
Like actual money?
But I don't know how. Yeah, like actual money.
Whoa, okay.
I think it was $10 for a year. I mean, it wasn't an incredibly lofty amount, but still, you had to pay to transfer between the two titles.
Wow.
Recently, yeah. It's not necessarily transferring; it's backing up your Pokemon so you can recover on other games, which is great. So you can take all of your Pokemon from other games, store them in this bank, and they are preserved there in their entirety.
So in theory, they could eventually recover that information.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't know if going forward they're going to kind of take any information that they've gotten from their fans with this newest release and kind of post date that and start bringing more generations back into the Sword and Shield. I don't know.
Okay, well, I mean, but how is the game? This is the first real 3D open world Pokemon game, right?
Well, not only that, it's the first open world Pokemon game, but it's also the first Pokemon RPG style game in the original aspect of Pokemon on a home console. Like, it's always been a handheld game. This is the first one.
Was Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, was that not an RPG?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, you don't sound like you like that game very much.
No, I didn't care for it.
Okay, all right.
So it was okay.
So this is your first HD at home Pokemon experience.
Well, in the original vein of the RPG titles, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that is kind of why my expectations were a bit higher going into this. And they've introduced a couple new different kind of gimmicky plays in this. They've done some things that I really liked, some things that I didn't like so much. One being the Pokédex, and I understand it. They're trying to get people into the newer set of Pokemon. And for someone that is fresh coming into Pokemon, that is kind of overwhelming to have all of these different creatures to keep track of.
Yeah, is it over 800? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of Pokemon.
That's you gotta catch them all, man.
I mean, that would also be a lot for the developers to have to HDify.
Yes and no. So that kind of plays into one of the cons I had is they've reused a lot of the same battle animations in a lot of the different Pokemon. So I don't know why they had such a problem implementing that. Even if they reused the same battle animations and you had all the Pokemon that you could bring over to Sword and Shield, I was disappointed that they didn't. They never promised anything, but I was kind of disappointed that I can't get some of my favorite Pokemon.
Yeah, I kind of spoke on it last week. It's they never did promise, but it's kind of an inherent promise for the franchise. Like, if you are a fan, like, we have always taken care of you. We will always take care of your Pokemon. I can see why you would be upset.
Not only that, but I mean, if you have a favorite Pokemon and you can't play it in a Pokemon game, I mean, that's tragic.
Okay. There's no such thing as a bad Pokemon either.
Well, and that's kind of thing. I have a big bias, so anything with a Pokemon name on it, I don't care if it's a pile of dog doo with a Pokemon sticker on it. I'm a sucker. I'm gonna buy it.
Okay, good to know.
But being a big fan, I was kind of, if I was going to play the game as just a gamer and not knowing anything about Pokemon,
That's me.
I think this was a really cool entry into it, and you would have more fun with a new experience. But as a seasoned Pokemon vet or experienced player, this was kind of a letdown from previous titles.
So you'd say you've been let down so far, even with like exploring and seeing the Pokemon in the wild and stuff like that.
So it doesn't seem like it has that Nintendo polish that is inherent in the Pokemon games that we expect. The controls, they seem twitchy, like almost fast. And it was a very different, weird kind of feeling to it. And it wasn't just travel, it was just doing random tasks. So they've taken, like, in Pokemon Let's Go Eevee Pikachu, I don't know if you've ever played that, but are you familiar with the overworld and how you interact with Pokemon at all?
I mean, you see them on the actual game map, right?
And you see them also in Sword and Shield, but the difference is you can actually battle them, and I think that was a positive step. But just the way that you're moving in the world, it's just not as polished. It seems like it's, as a Switch game, and especially being Pokemon, it seems like a dated game on the Switch. It doesn't seem like it's the newest Pokemon title.
Oh man,
it seems like it was almost pushed out a little faster.
You think it might have been? I mean, what else? I mean,
I don't
know. I guess Nintendo had a pretty big year. There's really no reason to rush this.
It's just Pokemon. It's every year. Like, they should have definitely had enough time to think this through. Not to mention, they had Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu, which is a branch off of the traditional, the traditional Pokemon RPG element that they've got going on. So this has to have been in the works for a while. And it looks like a lot of positive things went into it, but there is a lot of missing polish that I was expecting.
But it's probably a good jumping on point for new players?
It's a good jumping on point for new players. This is definitely more geared towards children. Obviously, it's a Pokemon title.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to see something like this. I don't know why they haven't implemented it yet, but a Pokemon with a higher difficulty level, like if you could select difficulty levels in a Pokemon game, that'd be fantastic.
Or even I've played a Pokemon before button.
Yeah,
that option.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, so they have that, and they have a point where you can skip tutorials. Yeah, so if you know, like, element advantages over different Pokemon, you can kind of skip the tutorials.
Yeah, if only Nintendo had that lesson in place for Skyward Sword.
It did. Well, yeah. But the point is, when I was about to get to the first gym, I was already over-leveled. I think I was 15 levels over what the gym level was. Like, I tend to grind a little bit more than your traditional player. So I think offering maybe a higher difficulty to seasoned players at this point is... how long has Pokemon been around? Since the early 90s?
96, right? Came to America, I would say.
Yeah.
So
somewhere in there.
So, do you think it's easy even by Pokemon standards then?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I wish there was a little bit more. There's an open world, but there's not enough Pokemon out there to give you that challenge. And I think that's kind of it. It's just missing challenge.
Your description to me so far sounds a bit like almost the first Assassin's Creed, where like this is like a great foundation for something that can be great later.
And it is. And I think they could have improved on it, and they did something cool. So they have a new system where you have these raids, and you can have 4 people in a raid.
Are these the Gigamax?
These are the Gigantamax and the Dynamax. Okay, yeah. Yes. And you can go and you can fight, a giant Pokemon. And that's fantastic, but it felt gimmicky after a while. And it seemed like, like they sat around and they're like, how can we get what will make kids just blow their minds with Pokemon? Let's make them bigger.
Yeah.
And it definitely felt like that. Like it felt gimmicky and it was like redundant.
Are you doing those battles with actual online players?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of cool.
You can. So you can choose like random people online. You can trade your player, I think it's a trainer card, something like that. You can share it with buddies, so you can jump in a raid, or you can grab, I think they're like random NPCs, and I don't know if they're really that good.
Do you see other players roaming around at all?
Not in the way you're thinking. So you can see other people like moving around, but it's not nearly as many people as you'd think would be online at any given time. Like you're not seeing everybody populate at the same time. So you can interact with other people in there, do link trades.
Well, I didn't know,
but not nearly in the way you're
I was thinking like Destiny, where not everyone is instanced into your area, but you see some people every now and again. I guess it's weird when it's such a kid-focused game. Anyway, how's the battles? Are they? Well, I guess you said they're easy.
Battles are great. Well, and they kind of went back to the original format of battles where you actually pick like your moves, and I wish they had a bigger move set, but I mean you're still kind of locked into your 4 moves. So I'm glad they kind of changed it up from Pokemon Let's Go and Eevee, where it was kind of like a Pokemon Go type catching system, and they've kind of gone back to the traditional catching system. So I give them props on that.
So it sounds like you're kind of disappointed with it, huh?
Not disappointed. I still really enjoy the game. I'm still going to go through and obviously I'm on a never-ending quest for shinies, but I think I was expecting a little bit more with the time frame that they had, and being the first entry onto a console, I was a little bit disappointed.
I think whatever the sequel to this game is, I think will probably make you happy.
I think so too. I'm hoping so.
Yeah, well, sure. Yes. Of
course. I was eager to see what would come after Pokemon Let's Go and Eevee, but I don't know, that at least that game like functioned, I think, better. It had a lot more polish to it, and I wasn't seeing that polish this time around.
So you always want to see in a game. It functions.
It's Pokemon. Why wouldn't you have more
Pokemon? It is a little funny that you got to catch them all, except not in this one.
Or most. You got to catch most.
Got to catch most of them all. All right.
Doesn't roll off the tongue quite as well.
No.
No.
So you still do recommend it?
I do. So if I were to give this a score, kind of playing into last week's episode, as a gamer that is familiar with Pokemon, I would probably give this maybe a 6.5. Oh. But as someone that really likes Pokemon, playing into my bias, maybe a 7.5, 8. So I think a 7 out of 10.
It's okay. You can let your bias shine through. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm giving kind of both sides. Yeah. In between a 6.5 and an 8.
Every critic has bias. If they say they don't, they're lying.
That's what I'm saying. I have bias. Like I said, it's Pokemon. I'm going to love it. But there are some serious issues that need to be addressed. Oh, and one cool thing, they actually had weather.
Yeah.
I didn't even talk about it, but they had weather in the actual world, which is a change. They've never had really weather in a Pokemon game like that.
Is it on a day-night weather cycle kind of deal?
Well, it changes. It changes all the time.
Yeah, that's good.
So you can be walking through and it just starts raining.
That's cool. I didn't know. Yeah, Spider-Man, it only rains when the story wants it to. So I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's interesting is that even though you're not like 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 in this game, it doesn't matter because this game is selling like ridiculous.
It's Pokemon.
I mean, like something like $14 million in its or 14 million copies in its first weekend or something.
Oh yeah.
It makes me want to buy a Pokemon game.
Yeah?
Yeah, just the idea of the open world kind of Pokemon game appeals to me, I guess.
So it still does have like a linear type aspect to it. I mean, that's just one part of the world. A lot of the game in its core does have very linear areas.
You're actually selling the game more to me now. Because
Tell him it's a roguelike. He doesn't need to play it this year.
yeah, then I won't need to play it at all.
It's not really a roguelike, but
Are there
No, I know.
bonfires where I can rest at and respawn all the enemies?
no,
That'd be great.
no. But there's almost like an endless supply of Pokemon.
Say-
You can just go grind.
You enter a building. Is it the same like old Pokemon? You enter the grass and Pokemon find you.
Well, not only that, I mean, if you enter the grass, you have a chance of finding like something rare, whether it be a shiny or something harder to find in that area. You get an exclamation point above that kind of shows that, oh, this is something cool.
It's shiny.
And then you get it, and it's like, oh. And then sometimes it's just nothing. And it's kind of frustrating. But no, it's cool. You can kind of see the Pokemon, ruffling through the grass. So it's pretty neat. It seems like the world is more alive, like there's
Yeah.
stuff in the grass.
There you go. That open world is not what I meant. Alive, I guess. I think is what I meant.
Yeah, it seemed dynamic.
Yeah. There you
Dynamic.
go. Look at you, Nate.
Mm-hmm.
Looks dynamic. Don't be dismissive. I was giving you a compliment.
I appreciate it.
Now, did you play Sword or Shield?
I played Sword.
Okay. And the only difference is like 3 or 4 Pokemon that are exclusive to each one?
Inherently, yes.
What does that mean? Like you can trade them?
Yeah. So the whole premise behind Pokemon games is to have multiple versions, so you can't technically catch them all without trading with someone else from the other game.
Okay.
Only
And
most of
that's
them.
like the whole. Yeah. And yeah. Another thing to be said is, you remember the Pokeball Plus that came out with Pokemon Let's Go and Eevee?
Mhm.
Yes, I do remember that.
So it came with a Mew download that you would get from that as a gift. Well, if you redeem the gift in Pokemon Let's Go and Eevee, not only can you not transfer the Mew from that title to the new one, you can't add that Pokeball Plus to the new game and get the Mew because it's already been used. You would have to buy a whole new Pokeball Plus to get a Mew in Sword and Shield.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Pokemon.
Nintendo likes money.
Yeah. Yep.
Turns out.
It's that whole Nintendo accessories thing. They want to sell you on all these accessories that are just trying to get money. But I will be paying that $20 for that Pokeball when it goes on sale for Black Friday. Maybe that's what I should have said. I'll be paying for that Pokeball Plus again just to get the Mew and Pokemon Sword and Shield.
There you go.
All right. Well, hey, Scott.
Yes, sir.
You even Don't Die Minerva on Xbox One. You've been tearing it up. Early access game, correct?
It is early access, and I feel like I haven't played an early access game yet. And so this is my first experience because there are messages all over this game that are, hey, this is not the final build of the game. This is a work in progress. Here's a website to report issues, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, I have no idea what this means.
So this game, is it straight up it's an isometric shooter, right?
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
twin stick isometric shooter.
Okay. It's kind of an interesting genre to have an early access, I feel.
Yeah, especially considering the theme. This feels like a game that would have made a lot of sense to release around Halloween because it's very haunted house-esque. Ghosts and goblins and creatures like that you're fighting against. It even has that, I don't know, Halloween music. Not Halloween like the theme song from the film, but it's just
Like the soundtrack to Grab by the Ghoulies.
It's just like creepy crawly kind of music, not like a horror game, but you play as this little girl named Minerva, and you come to a mansion, and there's a ghost that's holding his own head in his hands, and he talks to you. And this is the first time I realized I was playing an early access game because it actually has, I think I sent you guys a screenshot, or texted the screenshot to you. It actually says, enter dialogue code here. Whatever. So like I had no idea what the character actually said, which was kind of funny. And I actually, and this isn't a knock on the game because this is purely early access, but I actually broke the game in the first 2 minutes. I actually, because when you play a game like this, you just want to explore, right? You want to slash all the in this game it's pumpkins, and they may have a gem inside it or something. So you just it's my Zelda, pre-training. That tells me to smash all the pots everywhere. And I reached an area that there was no way to get out. I didn't even get into the mansion yet. I was just exploring around the house, and I figured out a way to get into this yard area that I wasn't supposed to yet, and I got stuck. I had to actually restart the game, which it's not a big deal.
You're too good of a gamer is the problem.
No, it's not that. It's just I'm too nerdy of a gamer is what the problem is. So this is a roguelike. It is you're working out your way up the different mansion levels, and I haven't made it to like another level outside of the mansion, so I don't even know how far this game goes yet. I only played for a few hours. But it's surprisingly deep in terms of the way that it levels up, because it's a roguelike in that you find different items along the way, but you also find these gems that act as like your skill tree points. But the only time you can ever activate these skill tree points are when you come across like this magic cauldron, like halfway through or towards the back end of this procedurally generated dungeon, as it were. And that transports you back to the front of the courtyard of the mansion, and then you can spend your gems, which are permanent. But then as you work your way through the mansion, if you die, you lose all of the other like weapons or boots or necklaces, things that boost your stats along the way. You lose all those and start over. But you have some attributes that are going to stay permanent. So the interesting thing about this game is that your initial weapon isn't even a gun, which is what you kind of expect in a twin stick shooter. It's a flashlight. So it does the Alan Wake thing where you have to train the flashlight on the enemies, which is strangely satisfying. Like it was in Alan Wake. It was kind of cool to see those enemies kind of like, freeze up for a second and then explode into nothingness. Except in this one, they can still attack you while you're doing that. So it's not quite as satisfying, but it still feels pretty good. As you work your way up each level of the mansion, the enemies get increasingly harder, which is, it was very difficult just in the second stage until I figured out how to beat these guys, because like the enemies that you're fighting against, which basically look like ghosts, the typical ghosts in movies where people just have a sheet over their head with 2 holes cut into them. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
They look like that, but you learn that some of them shoot projectiles and some of them actually charge at you, so you start figuring out which ones are which. But then as you make your way through the mansion in the harder levels, they start getting shields around them, which you can't bust through. You can't it's not like it just makes their health longer. You actually have to hit them from behind, which becomes a strategy. You have to wait for them to attack and then sneak around them, which it kind of goes against my twin stick shooter mentalities. I've never played a twin stick shooter mentality like that. I've played them so much that I know just to always keep my weapon trained on the enemy, and they'll eventually die as long as I'm dodging well enough. Well, in this case, you actually have to play a little bit more strategy. Dodge the attack, sneak behind them, and attack them, and it's kind of interesting. So, but that I haven't played a ton of it, like I said, but I'm enjoying it. But the thing that's missing for me is the draw to start another run. You know how I told you, like when I played like Children of Morta or Rogue Legacy or even Binding of Isaac, if I died, I just immediately felt like I want to start another run. I'm like, oh, I can do that better next time.
Yeah, of course. That's kind of the appeal, right?
Right. And in this one, I'm not feeling the draw immediately to go back, probably because the runs are lengthy. I did one run that was 45 minutes to an hour, which doesn't seem like a lot, for a full game, but
no, that's one cutscene in Death Stranding.
Yeah. So it really feels like you're starting over, like with a pea shooter. You know what I mean? So and granted, the enemies are easy at the beginning, but after you've leveled up and you've gotten more powerful weapons and more powerful sub weapons, and especially if you get like a pair of boots that makes you run faster, and you start over, and now your character is walking at what feels like a snail's pace in comparison, you're not as excited to start that run over again. I feel like they could change that by either lowering the requirements of gems to increase your stats, or by making the gems more plentiful, because it feels like a grind to get those up there. For the 3 or 4 hours I've played, I've only unlocked 2 things, which doesn't seem like a lot. Good roguelikes, in my opinion, are ones that give you a bunch of stuff and then make the higher tier ones a grind. So it feels like you're actually progressing somewhat at the beginning. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, it's a little hard to. because it's still early access, right?
Right. And for all I know, this stuff could change. And that's the feedback that I would give them is either give me something a little bit more at the beginning to entice me to keep playing, or give me more gems, because, going through an entire dungeon, dying and getting 7 gems for that run when it takes 25 to unlock the first tier, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. You're not really getting that quick hit of accomplishment you want from the genre.
Right. And I feel like I'm spoiled by the genre in that sense, in that, you get that immediate satisfaction. I died, but I still got this going for me.
Yeah,
so I think
you're unquestionably the house expert on the genre.
Well, I don't know if I'm an expert. I haven't played all of them. I've just played a lot that really struck home. And it's a tough nut to crack but they are doing something different with the twin stick shooter, with the flashlight, and there are other weapons that you acquire and all that. But I'm liking it. I'm not loving it. I'm not feeling myself drawn to go back to it like I am with other ones. But again, with it being early access, I could see a bunch of tweaks being made to the game, and I'm really excited to see what the final product is. And I'll have a full review of it once the full game releases, and I can dive into it a bit more. So again, Don't Die Minerva.
Yeah, great name.
It is. Whenever I hear Minerva, I think of BioShock 2.
Yes, absolutely. Minerva's Den.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you are correct. But what were you playing for yourself, Scott?
SteamWorld Dig 2, which is a game I played on Switch back in the day, but they dropped it on Xbox Game Pass, and I was like, I like that game a lot, and I can actually play through it again and actually earn something and get a few achievements. So I played through that game this weekend. It's only like 6 or 7 hours. And have you played that?
No, I've not. I don't think I've played any of the SteamWorld games, actually.
They're really satisfying, man. It's a Metroidvania, which I know you like, but you prefer the 3D ones. This one's 2D.
Yeah. I mean, I still like the 2D ones. Don't get me wrong. But
there's something very satisfying about digging through dirt and uncovering treasure. I mean, think like Dig Dug, but
okay.
If Dig Dug were fun.
Wow, shots fired at Dig Dug.
I mean, Dig Dug was fun back in the day. Don't get me wrong, but like,
I mean, that's not a game you play longer than 15 minutes. I understand.
Right. No, but it's this mechanic where you with your pickaxe, you pick through the dirt, and you have to strategically figure out your way to get to the treasure without blocking yourself off, because you can keep yourself from being able to access certain areas if you don't dig correctly. And you're working your way through, getting treasure, bringing it back to your home base, cashing that.
Sounds like a high pressure scenario, man.
Why is that?
Unless does the dirt reset every time or something?
No. It won't lock you out from being able to get back to where you need to be, but it will lock you out from being able to reach basically like a Mario coin.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's not like vital to finishing the game.
No, I thought you meant like a missile upgrade from Metroid or something.
No, not like that. These are just, there's money scattered all over the place in the form of gems. Well, it's not money, it's gems that you take back, and this guy buys them from you. And then you in turn take those to upgrade your pickaxe, or upgrade your lantern, or upgrade your water cannon, or upgrade your you eventually get a flying ability, so then pretty much everything is available to you at that point. But it is a very charming game. It has like these areas that feel like Breath of the Wild shrines, where it's like a little puzzle that you have to solve, but it's completely 2D, and they're very, very clever. And not only is it clever to solve it, but also hidden in each of those is an artifact, and the artifacts can be turned in for different upgrades, and it is just a very charming game. I actually recommend the first one as well if you haven't played it. It's really good. But right. SteamWorld Dig 2, I actually beat it before I started recording tonight. I didn't even remember I was at the final boss, and beat the final boss. And
I like that it is an appreciable length.
Yeah, it's never overbearing. It's never super difficult. And I actually cleared out every quote unquote shrine that I came across and completed it, and it was still only 6 or 7 hours. So
I might have to download this in my old Game Pass.
Yeah, that's right. You have Game Pass. There are some story beats that, you're actually looking for the character from the first game. So that won't make any sense to you if you haven't played the first game, but it's not like, okay. It's not vital. So it is a charming little Metroidvania.
You know what's on Game Pass, Scott? Shenmue 1 and 2.
I saw that. You know what game I will not be playing on Game Pass?
Shenmue 1 and 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's free.
I got too many quality games to go back and play Shenmue, man.
I mean, I don't know if they're all going to reach the quality of Shenmue.
Okay, you were just trying to talk me out of playing Half-Life earlier this episode because I probably wouldn't hold up, but you're going to try to sell me on Shenmue 1 and 2?
Look, man, if you want me to tell you that Shenmue is a better game than Half-Life, I will tell you that.
Are you really saying that?
In my opinion, I would rather play Shenmue 2 than Half-Life 2. Yes.
Wow.
You just kind of made that not arguable, putting your opinion before it. But I don't know. So if you think about it, which is more iconic, Half-Life or Shenmue?
I think if one is more iconic and important to the industry, it is Half-Life 2, no question.
Okay.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Okay.
If we were in a conglomerate room deciding best games or whatever, yes, I would advocate, be like, no, it makes more sense Half-Life 2 above Shenmue 2. I'm not crazy.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm just saying I like Shenmue 2 more.
Man,
okay.
I'm
Which
curious
I guess
now.
might make me crazy, but
I'm very curious now.
I have
But
a lot of nostalgia tied up into Shenmue. I'm not
I would
gonna lie.
imagine that helps. That helps too. I also have been picking away a little bit more at PictoQuest on Switch, which I don't even remember talking about that game before. It's Picross with RPG mechanics. I'm only halfway through the game, and my grids are now 15 by 20.
Is this the game that people were kind of obsessed with for about a week earlier this year? Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, it just kind of came out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and
I feel like this game had all the buzz in the world for about a week and a half.
it did. I mean, it's just Picross, man. I mean, they just added where instead of it just being a Picross puzzle, you're actually fighting against somebody. So if you clear a line, either up or down, it actually does damage to the enemy. And then they have an ATB meter that if it fills, then they attack you. So the way that you can deplenish that meter is by clearing a line up or down. So it's not overly difficult, especially since you can just pretty much screenshot your map if you miss it, and then just go back and refill it. Because it's timers, but they're not egregious, so it's not too bad.
I mean, it's fun to do something different with that game style.
Yeah. The puzzles are charming. It's really cool too when you actually get the picture, and then they kind of actually make it into an animated GIF almost, and it looks with more color, and it's got a little bit more 3D to it. I don't know. It's kind of satisfying whenever you get those. So, PictoQuest on Switch, it's like $7. If you like Picross, it's a no-brainer. So
Awesome.
Cool.
What about you, Zach?
Well, I beat Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Review on the site. 10 out of 10.
That's all I have to say about that.
It's all. I mean, I think it is the single greatest video game I've ever played.
Wow.
It's my favorite video game. I loved it to death. I know. I felt like I fell in love.
Sounds like it.
It's kind of a feeling I can't really describe. I'm actually kind of putting together a little bit of a feature editorial because it's so hard to describe. Yeah, but it really felt like I was falling in actual love.
Wow.
And it's got so many pieces of so many genres that I love, and the story tells is really great. It deals with trauma in a really intelligent way that I was just simply not expecting from a Star Wars game, to be honest. I expect fun and laser swords. They really get into like PTSD and the pain of your past.
Wow.
It's kind of cool. And I don't know, it takes from the prequels, the cartoons, and the original trilogy. Like it kind of builds its own thing with all the pieces of Star Wars.
Even Rogue One.
Yeah, there's a lot of Rogue One influence in here. And that was just kind of nice to see that. There's nice to see one piece of media that kind of took all these different movies and TV shows and put them all together
In a way that works.
Yeah, and it really helps you believe in the new timeline that Disney is building.
Oh, okay.
Which I really liked. Like I had just gotten done reading about the villains in a comic book, and here they were.
That's cool.
Important way. And it lined up with the timeline even. I'm sure there's somebody at LucasArts whose job is just, here's what happened on Wednesday. Darth Vader couldn't have been there. He was at the sushi bar. Couldn't have possibly been there. Yeah.
I was proud of myself, man. I was keeping up with you. I was keeping pace with you for like that first weekend. And
yes, yeah.
And then you just tore ahead of me, and I like I said, I took a break to go play SteamWorld, and haven't gone back yet. I hope it's not too far now, like that I've forgotten how to play. But I've been listening to some podcasts talk about it, and I think I've been doing the timing wrong with the parries, and because they don't really train that to you very well. That's like one of my complaints is that.
I could see that. I mean, it is. I have played a lot of these kind of combat systems.
Right. So if you've played Souls games before, a lot of that is like second nature. But for someone like me that doesn't know the timing very well, I'm very lost, and I can't tell if because the podcast I was listening to claimed that it was delayed. Like it's like when you block, you actually have to like anticipate it instead of doing it. I'm so used to games where you wait, you see them raising their weapon to attack you, and you time it so that right when it hits you is when you parry. Is that correct? Am I doing it the correct way?
Yeah, that's how it felt like to me.
Okay. Like I said, it's been a week since I've played it, so I got to give it another shot, but I need to get the timing down.
It's always about waiting till that very last second. I was playing on hard, so my parry window was tighter.
Mm-hmm.
I know that. I don't know if that played into it any.
I don't know. Maybe I'll just drop it down. Not because like I'm doing fine. I actually beat that the reveal that we talked about.
Yes.
That boss. I beat her on my second try. So
That's
it wasn't
awesome. Yeah.
It's not like, but I'm not playing. I wasn't playing it on the third level of difficulty like you were. I was playing it on the second.
Right. Well, I think it mostly just the parry window. I feel like is the biggest difference anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't it great how the lightsaber duels feel like a lightsaber duels in this game?
They really do. I feel like that we've never gotten that.
Not to this degree, I can't imagine.
Like if you go back to like Super Star Wars and all those, when you get, it just feels like you're just swiping at things.
Right, or even the Force Unleashed. It just kind of feels like you have a big old baseball bat almost.
Right.
Not to say I don't love that game, just to put that out there. But it reminds me of when you played KOTOR. And it was turn-based, but it had the animations of the lightsabers hitting each other.
Mm-hmm.
It almost felt like you're finally getting to play that promise all those years ago.
Right.
And I loved it. And because it's got that, considered combat of the Souls-like genre, it really feels like when you hit somebody with a lightsaber, you really feel like you're messing them up.
Right. That's a good point.
Which is awesome. And when it's animals and droids, you straight up just cut them in half.
That's the one thing that bugs me about this game, and I'm not. This is like a very nitpicky thing that just because of me, like I can just mow down stormtroopers like crazy, but I come across like a dog-sized rat hoppy thing, and that gives me trouble. Like that's dodging out of the way, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do. Yeah, that is like kind of the same way in Dark Souls, where you'll fight a big old knight and you'll take him down no problem. But then you'll find a spider and it'll take you 14 tries.
Right.
And you're like, this is ridiculous. I just killed a tower of a man.
Yeah.
But it's all about like learning the different enemies, different attack patterns and animations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's a lot great. But hey, I recommend every single human being play this video game.
What a great time to be a Star Wars fan right now, right?
Yeah, it's kind of insane. Mandalorian, Fallen Order, Episode 9 around the corner.
Yeah, dude, we are like weeks away from there being a trilogy of trilogies in the Star Wars universe.
Yes. Right after The Last Jedi being so great. Not being facetious, I love The Last Jedi.
I know, I did not.
Yes.
I need to watch it again, though. I will be watching it again on Friday.
This Friday.
Yeah.
It's a shame it'll be at the end of the marathon, so you'll be tired and angry anyway.
No, dude, I am not. It's usually drunk. One year I let Amanda shave my head because we were doing Fast and the Furious movies, and I wanted to be Dominic Toretto.
I remember the pictures.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, anyway, how's Death Stranding coming?
I'm doing a lot of walking. It's great.
No kidding.
Yeah, I texted you, Scott. I think just the other night. I was playing it was 35 minutes and counting was where I was at the cutscene, and I think I got up to like 42, and it was just one character monologuing.
Really?
Yes.
Are you enjoying that, or?
No.
Okay.
I will say no. I wish I was. I do for a little bit. So what it is you're starting to learn, because the characters in this game have ridiculous names: Dead Man, Heart Man, Die Hard Man, stuff like that. I'm getting to the point of the game where they're starting to tell me what those names mean and how they got them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing it in these big old monologues that are really well directed, really well acted, and do actually some pretty neat stuff visually that I'm kind of curious how they could possibly pull off in a single shot camera cutscene, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely impressed by that. But it is within the first 10 minutes of the monologue, I get it. I understand why you're called Dead Man. But then he will get sad and reiterate the same information again for the next 10 minutes. And then your main character will be like, wow, really? That's messed up, man. And then he'll be like, I know, let me tell you again, because it's so messed up.
You were not selling me on trying this game again.
No, like those monologues are really, really where you wanted an editor to come in.
Yeah.
And you kind of appreciate that Kojima used to have reins put on him.
Right.
But the storyline itself, the actual plot that is happening right now is really good. A lot of good stuff happening. There is a moment of gameplay that harkens back to the best of Kojima. Like it made me think back to the switching the controller ports level of thinking outside of the box.
In terms of gameplay or just the story?
Gameplay.
Oh.
Like I had to do something so unexpected that I was like, oh, that's why we revere Hideo Kojima.
Oh, okay. I like it. I may off air have you tell me what that is, just because
I don't think it's worth the 30 hours of walking to get there.
Right. But I don't want to reveal it here.
If you don't like it, I do still really enjoy the traversal, getting around part of the game. Especially when you get the chiral network online, you see other people's bridges, and you guys help each other build a highway. I still am very much endeared by that.
Mm-hmm.
I am ready for this game to end. I will say that.
Do you have any inkling of how close to the end you are?
I think I'm on chapter 9 of 14. Or 13.
Jeez.
Of 13. Well, the first chapters 2 and 3 are exponentially longer than every other chapter.
Oh, okay.
The rest of the chapters, I guess, are probably about as long as chapter 1. Which you remember it was like 3 hours, maybe 2-3 hours.
Right.
So it's starting to move a lot faster.
Okay.
It only took me, it only takes 30 hours for them to tell you the main character's backstory. Which is maybe a little excessive. I'm about to get an hour like 33 or 34, and I'm finally about to learn what the villain's up to.
Wow.
It's a slow burn video game, there is no question. And it's also really rough when you play a game that you think you may have fallen in actual love with, and then you go back to a game about walking, you're kind of like, can I just go back to playing Star Wars, though?
Right. I hear you. Well, I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on it after you do finish it.
Yeah, I'm dedicated to beat it. I feel like somebody on site's got to beat this game.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thanks for your service, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Nate, what about you? Anything you've been catching up on?
I've been playing through, obviously, Pokemon on Switch, so I'll be wrapping that up relatively quickly here.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been playing through Subnautica on Xbox One.
I'm intrigued by that. That's on Game Pass, isn't it?
Either Game Pass or Gold or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on Xbox.
And are you digging it?
I am absolutely in love with it, even though I'm terrified of it.
Because you're like afraid of water,
like open, yeah.
What's that called? That's
Thalassophobic.
Thalassophobic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
you chose to play Subnautica.
It was kind of almost, one, a challenge from a buddy. 2, it just looked really cool, and it's got great feedback from it. So I was like, you know what? I got to try it out. And if I'm staying in areas that I can see the bottom, I'm all right. Like, I'll go down and do what I need to do. But if I'm going down 200 meters and I don't see anything but a color, I don't know what's down there. It scares the living crap out of me.
Yeah.
I'm like, nope.
And you're not even playing it in VR.
Back to my pod. No.
Dude, I would not play that game in VR either.
I kind of want to.
No. The wide open bodies where I can't see anything below me, and knowing that there's something probably bigger than me down there
Yeah, F that, man.
I'm going back in my pod.
I smell a Twitch stream in the future.
I did a couple broadcasts.
Did you? No, I'm saying in VR.
Oh, I don't know about that. I've never done VR to begin with. To start on that
that'd be a great way to start you into VR, man.
I don't know about that.
I say we do it. I
feel like Subnautica in VR would make you want to hold your breath to an uncomfortable degree.
Yeah, I could see that.
You pass out because you're trying to hold your breath underwater. Subnautica.
Well, there were points where I was going to further depths, and I was literally like sitting on the edge of my seat, like almost sweating, like just creeped out.
That's crazy. That sounds interesting, though. I think I want to check that out. I want to look it up and see if it's a game.
Oh, Nate's Terror sounds interesting to me. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that it's a terrifying game, but it's not like a horror game. It's not like a gore fest or a boo scare game. It's just something that he's genuinely afraid of. I mean, you have a right to be afraid of deep, dark, open
I played
water.
Alien Isolation, and
yeah,
that's got jump scares in it, but this is a totally different.
Yeah, that's why it's fascinating.
Scared.
Well, it's such a tangible terror.
That's true.
Yeah,
you're not going to be pursued by a xenomorph in your life,
right?
But you could be in the ocean.
Fair enough.
It's like you can only move so fast too, and it's being in the situation where you're far away from your comfort level, and that game kind of pushes you to explore depths you haven't been to before. And just the whole premise of the game and that. Yeah.
That sounds fascinating to me. That sounds way more scary than Amnesia to me, which everyone, raves as one of the scariest games ever. That sounds legitimately more terrifying than what I played of Amnesia.
But needless to say, I've had a blast with it. I put easily, 15 hours into it. Just randomly collecting fish and just trying to find out and stumbling upon stuff that I wasn't supposed to, apparently, and getting far away from my little pod. And yeah.
Interesting. I'm going to check that one out. Well, we have gone very long, so that's going to do it for this episode of The Gaming Outsider. Zach, any parting words or recommendations for the listeners before we get out of here?
Yeah, guys, really play Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. It really is my favorite game ever. It's such a treat. Play the hell out of it. Also, Absolute Carnage finished up, and I've been talking about that for months now, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's done. What a storyline in comics. Donny Cates should write Spider-Man now. You hear me?
All right. Nate, what about you?
Well, this isn't really video game related, but if you have Disney Plus and you are a fan of Jeff Goldblum in any effect, there's a new show called The World According to Jeff Goldblum, and he is at his weirdest and quirkiness, and if you like Jeff Goldblum and his style of comedy, you'll love this. And he's just so there's 3 episodes right now. One has to do with shoes, where he explores the world of shoe trading and that giant empire. One is about ice cream. The next one's about tattoos. And I feel like this was done before by another, I think it was Anthony Bourdain, maybe?
The chef guy?
But he's just like...
No. He was the clothing designer guy, right?
Anthony Bourdain was a chef.
He was a chef, okay.
Was he?
Yeah, he traveled the world.
I don't know.
But he did Travel
really
Channel. He did Travel Channel stuff, so maybe he did do something, Nate.
Maybe. But yeah, I mean, he's just basically exploring these topics and being his Jeff Goldbluminess.
That was exactly the word I would use to describe the show. He is at his Jeff Goldblumiest.
I've heard nothing but good about this show. I haven't watched it yet. Too busy watching.
It makes you feel good.
Yeah?
And it's on a weekly release schedule, kind of like Mandalorian too. So
I wish you could set it up to get an update when these new episodes come out.
I do. If you put it on your phone, you download the Disney Plus app, it'll tell you, hey, there's a new episode.
Oh, okay. That's good. Nice round notifications.
I didn't know that either.
Huh.
Yep.
Very cool. As for me, if you haven't already, check out my other podcast called Packers Fan Podcast. If you're a fan of football and or the Green Bay Packers, you can listen to that at the same place you listen to this episode. But thank you so much for listening to The Gaming Outsider. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. Our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Until next week, I'm Scott Clark with Zach Parkerson and Nate Lucas, and we are The Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.